we have to do is see the complexity of this problem and the vastness of it. And then we will realize that we are going to have to forget some of these so-called organizational principles and organizational aims and objectives, and realize that the real principle, the real aim, and the real objective is a solution to the problem.
A police state. Just make the Negro neighborhood a police state. It's the most heavily patrolled. It has more police in it than any other neighborhood. Yet it has more crime in it than any other neighborhood. How can you have more cops and more crime? Why? It shows you that the cops must be in cahoots with the criminals. You make my point. That as long as a white man does it, it's all right. A black man is supposed to have no feelings. We want freedom by any means necessary. We want justice by any means necessary. We want equality by any means necessary. We want it now, or we don't think anybody to death.
So whatever kind of action program can be devised to get us the things that are ours by right, then I'm for that kind of action no matter what the action is. I don't think when a man is being criminally treated that some criminal has the right to tell that man what tactics to use to get the criminal off his back. When a criminal starts misusing me, I am going to use whatever necessary to get that criminal off my back. And the injustice that has been inflicted upon Negroes in this country by Uncle Sam is criminal. Don't blame a cracker in Georgia for your injustices. The government is responsible for the injustices. The government can bring these injustices to halt. And what you and I have to let the man know is we are peaceful people. We are loving people. We love everybody who loves us. But we don't love anybody who doesn't love us.
Of revolution, we must their ideology. We will also, at that time, the USSR was being seen as the breeding ground of Marxism-Leninism, and many young African scholars were attracted to their ideology. We will also remember that the Russian Revolution, the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, spurred many African countries which were under the yoke of Western colonization. And therefore, when we talk about that history, it can never be seen without taking into account that reality. Russia, or the USSR as we knew it in its full before we come to its successor, which is the Russian Federation, was seen as an important ally. And one must ask why. We must remember that African countries, all of them, the 54 of them, were being victimized by the hegemonic European powers. And when the 1917 revolution took place, many African leaders at that time who were in the struggle were taking a cue from it. If you look at South Africa, for example, with the formation of the South African National Native Congress, which later became the ANC, their guiding light was what had happened in the Soviet Union in 1917. And they were telling themselves, we can actually liberate ourselves from this colonial yoke. And if you look at the activities, even in Nigeria with people like Makule, they were taking a cue from these activities at that time. And even as the Soviet Union started to have its hold in international affairs, it was seen very differently from Western countries. First of all, it was not seen as a colonizer, and it was not involved in the scramble for Africa, so that the Soviet Union was not present at Berlin. The Soviet Union did not have any territory that it was claiming. The Soviet Union was seen as the bastion of revolution and the bastion of change which African peoples desired from the colonial yoke. And of course, we know that from 1917, of course, in the First World War, the role of the Soviet Union was not as prominent as it became after the World War II.
All right, folks. For some reason, we're going to start the show maybe around 1:15 because there's a video I want to play. This recording because we want to make sure folks understand the relationship between Africa and Russia or the USSR, the relationship between Africa or USA or the United States, the relationship between Europe and Africa or the European nation, right? So again, once again, this is WCC. We are not here to bring any bias news or to pick sides, all right? Because most people do not understand for the lack of history, right? For the lack of what have happened, for the lack of what is happening in this current time. The reality here is what is happening in this current time, it happened in the past. There is nothing that will happen in the present that did not happen in the past. Everything that happened in the present, it happened in the past. Everything that will happen in the future, it have already happened or is going to happen, and then it will make it the past and it's going to manifest in the present. So that's the reason we are showing this video, because a lot of our people, I mean Africans, do not understand what is going on right now, all right? Because most of them have been brainwashed by Europe and America to think that, all right, what is happening on the African continent right now, some of the decisions that some of those African leaders are taking, right? It is a wrong thing, and those leaders are not doing the right thing, because that's how most of our people believe right now, because of the lack of history, because of the lack of knowledge. And that's the reason why I'm playing this video, for people to understand the reason why things are happening, because they happened in the past.
When the Cold War then came into the arena, and we could very easily talk of a bipolar world, the West and the Soviet Union. So in many ways, when African countries are now involved in the struggle for independence in 1940s through to 1950s and ultimately 1960s, the natural ally was seen to be the Soviet Union for a number of reasons. If you look at the African National Congress in South Africa, many of the freedom fighters were gravitating toward the Soviet Union, not only for ideological reasons, but for support, financial support. And not only for financial support, sometimes military support. And these decisions had to be made. So when you look at South Africa, you'll find that there was a very intimate relationship between the Soviet Union and the African National Congress. And it was not only confined to that. You will note that in the very early days of the struggle in the 1950s, a lot of African freedom fighters were attracted to the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was being seen at that time as the leader of the East. And when we talk about Soviet Union, we must also remember at that time that they had great influence in countries such as Hungary, and countries such as Poland, countries such as East Germany. And when the scholarships were being granted, the movement to the East, there were a lot of people from different parts of Africa who then found themselves going to study in Moscow and in St. Petersburg at the behest of the Soviet Union. And that in itself grew naturally because the freedom fighters of the day, and one can name them. One can name Gamal Abdel Nasser. When Gamal Abdel Nasser was overthrowing the monarchy of King Farouk, he inclined toward the Soviet Union. And indeed, when the Aswan High Dam was being built, it is the Soviets who actually financed the building of the Aswan High Dam. And the key was also taken by Kwame Nkrumah. When Ghana regained independence in 1957, one of the things that happened is that he wanted to build the Akosombo Dam. And of course, at that time, he approached several Western countries. They did not agree. And when he told them, I'm now going to the Soviet Union, then they financed the Akosombo Dam. And that is one of the reasons why Nkrumah was then labeled as a communist. The same label was also borne by Ahmed Sékou Touré of Guinea, who was very sympathetic to the Soviet style of governance, as was indeed Ahmed Ben Bella. And you will see at that time, because the Soviet Union talked about communism, there was something that was beginning to emerge in Africa called communalism and scientific socialism. And you see it in Nkrumah in Ghana. You see it in Ahmed Sékou Touré in Guinea. You see it in Modibo Keïta in Mali. You see it in Ahmed Ben Bella in Algeria. You see it in Gamal Abdel Nasser in Egypt. You see it even in Kenya, session of paper number 10 on African socialism. At that time, Professor Malinowski was very strong in Kenya at that time. And even in those days, many people inclined to the whole idea of moving to a governance system which was not purely capitalistic. And you see it with Nyerere. When he talks about the Arusha Declaration, he's much more inclined to the views that are articulated in the Soviet Union, and one may say Marxism-Leninism with some Africanization aspect of it. And later, the Soviet Union becomes a counterweight to a Western world that wants to be dictatorial. They want to tell you what to do. They want to tell you who to be your friend. They want to tell you who to trade with. And many people are saying, but we have regained our independence. Why should we be treated like little children? That question is being asked by Lumumba in the Democratic Republic of Congo. He's being told, oh, you cannot ask for support. But Lumumba says, you have put me in a situation where the Belgians want to remove me from power 9 months after we have regained our independence. They have recruited Mobutu, they have recruited Kasavubu, they have recruited Chombe, and I've asked the UN to assist me, and you don't want to assist me. I'm now asking the Soviet Union to assist me. And of course, they say that the danger of communism getting into the heart of Africa must be eliminated, and we now know that the code name used for Lumumba was Satan. And he was referred to Satan because he was seen to have inclined towards the Soviet Union at that time. Later, we also see the Soviet Union involved in the liberation movement. Liberation movements which cannot be financed or cannot be granted arms by other parts of the world, particularly Western Europe. And it is said, I think it is Samora Moises Machel and Robert Gabriel Mugabe who said it, that we who are revolutionaries, we swear by the Kalashnikov, the AK-47. This was the weapon of choice for all the struggle for independence. And you therefore see that the involvement of the Soviet Union in Mozambique through supply of arms. We see the involvement of the Soviet Union even during the Angolan Civil War, when the South Africans and the Americans are involved trying to impose Savimbi. It is the Soviet Union and the Cubans who actually succeeded in ensuring that Angola was not taken over. And it is important that the Soviet Union was not only involved in terms of trying to...
Were you recently injured in a car accident? Look at this check for 160.
Ensure that African freedom fighters were liberated. In the education arena, after the assassination of Patrice Emery Lumumba in 1961, the Friendship University is then named the Lumumba University, I think, in Moscow. And many Africans then went to study at the Patrice Emery Lumumba Friendship University, courtesy of the Soviet Union. When the Soviet Union collapses and the countries then become what we now know them, and after Perestroika and Glasnost, and ultimately you have Russia, Russian Federation is seen as the successor of the Soviet Union. The Russian Federation is seen as the successor of the Soviet Union. And that is why, even as we continue in a world that we say is multilateral, you begin to see that many African countries still gravitate towards this Russia, in the understanding there is a nostalgia that we knew that Russia was the anchor of the Soviet Union. We knew that Moscow was a friendly site, and therefore quite a number of countries, even in this day and age, remember the days when the Soviet Union supported the freedom fighting movement. They remember those days when they supported people through education. They remember those days when they sent their technology even in places such as Ethiopia. They remember when they sent their technology in different countries in the continent of Africa. And it is out of that nostalgia that there is what I may call a revival and a renewal of friendship between quite a number of countries and Russia. And one sees it quite evidently in Central African Republic with the new administration. One sees it quite evidently in the recent activities that have taken place in the Sahelian region. And you can see the presence of Russia, or the actual invitation of Russia by governments in the Sahel region, by governments in Burkina Faso, by governments in Niger, by governments in Mali, by governments in Guinea-Conakry. They are saying, you are our friend in our hour of need. And you are our friend who did not tell us how to behave. You worked with us. We think that you can be a better friend than others who claim they are friends, but they want to tell us how to govern ourselves. And you can now see that that kind of relationship is being anchored upon an old relationship, and the Russians are responding in the context of that history. And the relationship is one that is built, and indeed, the relationship between the Soviet Union and now Russia is like a tree which has been watered with the blood of solidarity. And that is why it is intimate, because the Soviet Union was never ever seen as a colonizer, never seen as a people who scrambled and divided Africa, never seen as a parasite that takes Africa's resources, never seen as a country that dictates to Africa, but seen as a friend with whom they can enjoy a symbiotic rather than a parasitic relationship.
We have been with Russia for a very long time, and the time that Africa was looking for its independence from our colonizers, the Soviet Union didn't take part of colonizing Africa or making us slaves. They came into Africa, supported us to fight for our liberation. Not only Russia, Cuba was also part of them. So when now that we had our independence, we've seen that Russia is always there whenever we are in need, when we run. And now we don't see the headway. We've hit the wall. The only person we can call a father and cry to for help is Russia.
All right. Good afternoon, folks. Once again, this is Frank. I am your host. This is WCC. I know we've been away for a very, very, very long time, and it's due to because of my computer, which is not yet fixed. Actually, I went for it, but unfortunately, it was never fixed, and I got angry, and I took it with me. And I decided to do a show before I'm leaving. So we're going to be off for a month because I'm traveling. I'll be back next month. But I decided to do a show today, before tomorrow because I'll be leaving tomorrow. But the show going to continue. Nkrumah going to be on, and other people still going to be on. So the platform is going to be open, and shows will still be going on. But I'll be off till next month because I'm traveling to the motherland. So today's topic, it says Africa or no explanation to any Western nation, and this is relating to Abraham Traore recent visit in Ghana when they were putting John Mahama, the newly elected president, in power. But before we get to that, let me elaborate a little bit on a video that we just watched. All right. Again, this is WCC, right? We're going to make this clear. The United States is not a friend to Africa based on history. Europe is not a friend to Africa based on history. It is a fact. Now, you see, for each time, Europe and the United States are not getting their will in Africa, or even apart from Africa, even in the US here, if they are not getting their will from African people, they label you as terrorists. They label you with all kinds of names, right? They did that to Dr. Kwame King. They did that to Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. They did that to Nelson Mandela. They call these three people terrorists, right? They did it to Malcolm X. They call him an extremist, right? And then, as you're watching a video from Professor Lumumba, right? They did it with the US, right? They did it with Patrick Lumumba. They call him Satan. Imagine Satan. What did Patrick Lumumba do that in history, or when you read about him, that you will ever think or see that Patrick Lumumba was a satanic being of what he was doing in Africa? Do you know the reason why they call him Satan? Because US and Europe feared that what Patrick Lumumba was fighting for, right? It was not in their favor, rather in African favor. What does that mean? Anything that have to do with Africans, African determination, African freedom, right? African happiness, it will go against the United States happiness. It will go against Washington, D.C. happiness. It will go against Europe happiness. Why anytime? Why anytime? If there is something for African people to make African people happy, the US get angry, Europe get angry, and they want to make sure they destroy that which make Africans happy. What is wrong with US? What is wrong with Europe? And I mean, they are CIA, they are FBI, they are governmental system. What is wrong with them? Why don't you want to see African happy for a bit? Why don't you want to see Africans do their thing for themselves, by themselves, and for their interests? Why are you always angry? Why are you always in our way? Why are you always standing against what makes us as human beings? Why? US and Europe, why? And that is why we owe you people no explanation. Because you have always stepped on our neck and described us terrorists. What have we done? Who are the terrorists in this war? Who are the terrorists in this war? Who are the people supporting proxy war? Who are the people manufacturing weapons, nuclear weapons to destroy human beings? Those are the terrorists. Africans are not a terrorist. Africans don't make weapons. Africans don't have weapons for mass destruction. Africans don't have finances to finance other countries, to finance terrorist group. Africans have never financed ISIS. Africans have never financed Al Qaeda. Africans have never financed the Arab Spring to kill Gaddafi. Africans have never been involved in removing any African, I had to call it world leader. But you are the one. When you read it, you tell African leaders, today you have to step down. Why? And those African leaders you tell to step down, those are the leaders who are actually fighting for humanity. You are against humanity. And you have the audacity to talk about humanity, to talk about human rights. You have the audacity, US and Europe. You are in no position to tell Africans what humanity is and what human right is, because you are the biggest violation of human rights. You are the biggest violation of life. You believe in death than life. You hypocrites. This is WCC. The topic for today says Africans owe no explanation to US, to Europe, to colonizer, to enslaver, to oppressor. African owe no explanation to them. And we are telling them this is a different time period. Maybe if you don't understand what is going on in the world, it is time for you to understand now. Maybe if you don't understand what is taking place, it is time for you to understand what is taking place now. Because nothing lasts forever. Nothing stays forever. Nothing stays up there forever. No matter how the tree grows tall, one day the branches of those trees, of that tree, will fall. No matter how a tree grows, it becomes the most look out tree in the world or in the forest. That tree must come down. The leaf must fall. And the branches must fall. And that you must understand what time it is now. For your empire, for your kingdom, you must understand what time it is. So when we discussing history, when we're going back to history, that should not be in any way against your interest. You have long killed African leaders. You have long destroyed African leaders. You say you believe in rule of law and democracy, but why do you always go against African leaders who want a betterment for their people? And we must warn you, Europe and US, or US and Europe. We're going to warn you people. If anything happened to Abraham Traore, like how y'all killed Lumumba, how y'all killed Sankara, Amilcar Cabral, y'all honor these people and kill them. If anything happened to Abraham Traore, you will never like it. You will never like it. And don't think if anything happened to those leaders, the same way you killed Lumumba and that was it for DRC Congo, don't think if you remove Abraham Traore, don't think you're going to put puppet in. Don't think you're going to put anybody there. Henceforth, going forward, you have nothing to do with those three nations in that region. And that's how bit by bit we are going to liberate Africa. There is nothing you can do again. You did it and you can't do it in this present. But let's get to Ghana here. The reason why we brought this topic today, it has to involve with the ignorance of some of the Africans on the African continent. We don't care whether you African or you wow, as long as you go against the ideology of Africans. We don't care how to describe you or how to refer to you. Some of the ignorance of some of the Africans in Ghana and in Africa and around the world, these messages go to them. And that's why we played the first video where Lumumba spoke about the relationship of Russia and Africa and what Russia have done. Again, let me say this. This is not a platform to say we appreciate in favor of Russia. We are just speaking history here, okay? If Russia have done a worse to Africa, we will say it. If the US have done it west to Africa, we will say it. If Europe have done it west to Africa, we will say it. If Russia have done better or good for Africa, we will say it. If Europe have done good for Africa, we will say it. If US have done good for Africa, we will say it. Because it is not about US, it is not about Europe, it is not about Russia, it is about Africans and African interests. The same way Washington, D.C. look out for their people. And when I say for their people, we know who we're talking about and who we refer to. We know what Europe do to look out for their people. We know what Russia, everybody. We know what they do to look out for their people. So when we come out here to talk or to speak, we are speaking to those African leaders who are in power, who are in authority to do the same thing for their people. And not to be naive and ignorant always. You know, recently, Abraham Traore was in Ghana for the inauguration of John Mahama presidency to Ghana. And it was said that Abraham Traore was not coming to Ghana. But to our surprise, Abraham Traore was there. He came there, and he came with bodyguards. Right? Now, and we saw how he was embraced by Ghanaians, by Africans. He was the only African leaders because Abraham Traore, Assimi Goïta, Tiani, none of those people are military or are jointer. We are not going to call them jointed. They are just walking in the footsteps of Patrice Lumumba. They are walking in the footsteps of Thomas Sankara. They are walking in the footsteps of Nkrumah. But just in different way, because this is a different generation fighting for revolution or fighting for freedom. Every generation have a method of approaching situation. So this of our time is different from how Nkrumah approached it, from how even Nelson Mandela approached it. Because we are not going to approach it like how Nelson Mandela approached it. We are not going to approach it like how Thomas Sankara or Patrice Lumumba approached it. Our leaders that are fighting for Africa, we are not going to sit and watch and see Europe and America influence to destroy and kill those leaders. We saw it 2011 when the U.S. went and sponsored the Arab Spring and they killed Gaddafi. We will not sit down and watch another thing of that happen. So fast forward, Abraham Traore came to Ghana. He came with a pistol on his side. He came with bodyguard. Boom. BBC took it and made case out of it. And then we have some of these so-called Negro P-Africans who are peer agents because they work for a Western organization, a Western entity, because they are working for their money. Sat down on BBC and they criticized Abraham Traore in Ghana. Oh, it was unsafe. It was not diplomatic. He went to Ghana with weapon. He went to Ghana with bodyguard. So is he saying that the Ghanaian military cannot protect him? And you see, these are agents for the West, plenty in Africa, to bring confusions amongst us, to bring divisions among us, divide and conquer. These are agents, African agents for the West. So let's see where we have these Negro slave African leaders. It is the same way we have these Negro slave reporters who work. Negro slave reporters, sorry folks, hold on. Negro slave reporters who work for the West. Now, these reporters on BBC went and sat down on national media and they spoke their slave language their slave ideology. Now, if Ghanaian or Africans are not mindful, they were back into these ideas. And then what would then happen? They go against their own government. And you see, Africans, we have to be careful. This is why sometimes some Africans' government have not worked in the interest of their people. Now, if Ghanaians decide to back into that ideology now, of what BBC won, and then those so-called Africans who work for BBC carry the narrative, if Ghanaians are not mindful, they will think it was bad, it is bad for Abraham Traore to come with weapons or with bodyguard. They might end up going hating their own leader, John Mahama. And once they do that, what's going to happen? A leader who can think, a leader who is not visionary, will not think his or her people hate him or her. He or she will not decide to take his or her back from his people. And the reason to that is that president in that country will feel that his or her people might not or will not protect him or her. So they will now want to turn to the West for protection. And once they turn to the West for protection, they become Western puppets. And anything the West tell them to do, that's what they'll do. Because in their mind, they feel that their safety will not come from their people. Let us be careful of narrative. Let's watch this video here. Let's watch this video.
Respect, family. When Ibrahim Traore came to Ghana for the presidential inauguration, many positive things happened. However, some ignorant local bloggers and micro individuals in Ghana have chosen to focus only on negativities. And mind you, this conversation are channeled by some local micro bloggers in Ghana who the only thing they know is local politics. These people can't go beyond the local politics. They know nothing about geopolitics. To them, it is just about local politics. So somehow, anyhow, the ignorant level is a little bit high. When you look at their blogging, in every situation, they look for something negative to put out there so that people can join the conversation for them to make some small coins or few dollars on the media. So don't take them serious. Initially, I didn't want to address this because I don't want to expose the ignorance of some of my Ghanaian brothers to the world. Because I know this platform, if I speak, it goes beyond Ghana. It will become international conversation. But since BBC, a Western media too, has decided to highlight this minor concern instead of the numerous positives from the event, even going as far as sending requests to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to hear his comments on why Ibrahim Traore greeted him with a gun on his waist. Since it has gotten to that level, I think it is time to join the conversation and settle the debates once and for all. People are raising so many points. Let me make 6 points to settle this useless debate. Number one, Traore's visit to Ghana was under agreed terms. Ibrahim Traore was invited to Ghana under terms and conditions that were agreed upon before his arrival. The Ghana Armed Forces, the police security personnel, even John Mahama, the new president who value his life as much as anyone else. If all these people had no issue, why should you? We all know the tension between ECOWAS and the African Sahel region. At this inauguration, Mahama was among familiar and friendly faces as an ECOWAS member. But Ibrahim Traore, on the other hand, was surrounded by individuals and institutions that have been unfriendly to him. This is the same leader that ECOWAS and African Union sought to confront and nearly went after just a few months ago. The only person Traore trusted enough to honor this invitation was John Mahama. Number two, let's look at the leader in a tensious or unfriendly environment. Ibrahim Traore was the only leader present at this event who the West is actively targeting. Both the United States and France view him as a threat to their interest. He took the greatest risk by attending this inauguration, knowing the dangers surrounding him. He is the only leader that his arrival and safe return were matters of great concern across Africa. Do you understand the significance of his presence? Should anything have happened to him here in Ghana, the entire Ghana state will fall to Togo. Do you think Traoré received the loudest applause for no reason? He is currently the most important leader in Africa. If you don't know it now. Number 3, history teaches us about betrayal. African leaders have historically betrayed their own to appease the West. You cannot expect Traoré, who really understood the history of Africa, to entrust his safety to leaders and institutions that might act on foreign instruction without hesitating. So he needs to secure himself in such environment. He cannot put his safety in the hands of anybody. His safety can only be in his own hands, especially with ECOWAS and Western representatives present. When Traoré visited Russia, he didn't carry a gun. Why? Because he felt safe. History shows us that Russia has consistently protected African leaders who resist imperialism. On the contrary, many African leaders have been betrayed by their own. So take note of that. Number 4, Ghana's sovereignty is questionable. Ghana, unlike Burkina Faso, is not a fully sovereign nation. Don't attack me yet. Let me explain. When Senegal President Bassirou Diomaye told France that sovereignty does not permit foreign military bases, he was defending his country's sovereignty. But in Ghana, the US maintain military bases under the SOFA agreement, which give them immunity, even if they harm Ghanaian citizens, including all of you making this useless agreement. Under the SOFA agreement, if these guys hurt any citizen of Ghana in this country, no court in this country can prosecute them. And you are not concerned about that. You should be concerned about that rather. Burkina Faso, a sovereign nation, rejects such agreement. Burkina Faso is a sovereign nation and their leader is a sovereign leader that cannot be controlled by the West, unlike your entire government in Ghana under the influence of the West. So that is the standard of Burkina Faso. They are setting their standard high. When US Vice President Kamala Harris visited Ghana, her security team searched Ghanaian security personnel. Even at the Flagstaff House, they took charge of their own security. This was a blatant insult to Ghana's sovereignty. Yet none of you channel your energy to champion this argument. This will never happen in Burkina Faso under Ibrahim Traoré, a nation that upholds its sovereignty. This can never happen. So between Ghana and Burkina Faso, you can see who is much more important and need to be respected. Now let's look at something. Let's look at Donald Trump's visit to North Korea. Let's compare this to when Donald Trump, as a president of the United States, visited North Korea. His security team operated with boundaries and mutual respect. They didn't overstep or undermine the sovereignty of the host nation. Contrast this with Kamala Harris' visit to Ghana, where her security team disrespected our sovereignty by searching Ghana's security personnel. This insult to Ghana's sovereignty went unchallenged by some of you. Yet people are quick to criticize Traoré for safeguarding himself. Why will he not safeguard himself when you have proven to be a puppet nation and not a sovereign nation? You have proven to the whole world that your security is weak, so he needs to protect himself. If your security is not weak, the United States Vice President will not come and their security personnel will be searching your security men. And why didn't you raise the concern that when the whole president of US went to North Korea, they didn't search the security personnel of the host nation? Then why searching out the security personnel of Ghana? None of you raised this concern, but you are quick to raise concern that Traoré went to Russia without a gun and came to Ghana with a gun. Drop that argument. Number 5, let's look at the double standard media coverage. Why didn't the BBC report on the US security team searching Ghanaian personnel during Harris' visit? Instead, they focus on a minor issue involving Traoré. This is the problem in Africa. We often prioritize pleasing outsiders while criticizing our own. Now, number 6, let's look at the real issues at hand. Of all the significant topics discussed at the event, like geopolitical shift that Mahama talked about, ECOWAS and AES seen under one umbrella for the first time. Mahama brought out BRICS conversation and the global move away from the dollar. Of all this conversation, BBC and some minor bloggers in Ghana choose to dwell on a minor issue. This is really, really disappointing. You see, one of the things is that If Ghana truly want to claim sovereignty, let's see it reject US military bases and Western influence. Until then, don't criticize a sovereign leader like Traore for taking necessary precautions. So please shift. Now, the foolish aspect of the whole conversation is for anybody to think that Traore, in front of all the security personnel and everybody present there, will remove a gun and shoot Mahama. This is foolish thought. The person came and everything happened smoothly and he left. So what is your problem?
All right. Now that we have seen that and the brother have discussed this, right? Let me detail a little bit, and then we're going to back that off with other evidence. This is WCC. Like I said, we are not here to be biased, right? Everything we discuss here is about Africa and African interests. We don't care about the US. We don't care about China. We don't care about Europe. We don't care about Russia. We don't care about Australia. We care about Africans and African interests. We care about African nations around the world and including the African continent. Other than that, we have no reason being here. Now, let's see this first. Let's go to ECOWAS because we like to balance issue here. Okay? As long as we are targeting the oppressor or the colonialist, right? It is the same way we would target the neo-colonialists. Now, let's go back to the African continent, right? And see ECOWAS. Now, BBC, and the planted African agents, okay, for the West who are in Africa, right, on these Western media, okay, and opening their loud and wide and dirty and stink mouth, right? Let's do this. Were you there, BBC? Wasn't you there when the US, when Europe told ECOWAS to go and wage war on another African nation, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso? BBC, where were you? When ECOWAS was about to go and destroy another African life, another African nation, with the demand and support with US and Europe. And ECOWAS was about to go in. But it was because of the bravery of those three nations to say, no, Burkina Faso, you cannot fight ECOWAS alone. With the military support of US and Europe. Mali, you cannot fight ECOWAS alone with the military support of Europe and US. Niger, you can't do it. So what can we do? We have to come together. That's how those three nations collaborated, regroup themselves, put their army together, and then told ECOWAS, we are waiting. Come over. BBC, why didn't you tell US this is African thing? But you sat there and closed your stink dirty mouth. And you wanted the US to use our ammunition to go create proxy war on the African continent in order to continue to exploit African resources so that you can have equipment to run your entity while Africans are dying. Another example. Almost every government that have been removed directly or indirectly by the support of US and Europe, those African government or leaders have been killed. Unlike the Africans who went and removed their government, they never kill him. Or they never kill them. The man to whom Bazou you are fighting for today, Bazou is alive. His family are alive. Nothing happened to them. But you, US, didn't you go and kill Gaddafi and kill Gaddafi children? Because you fear that Gaddafi children will come back to revenge or will come back to become president? Didn't you do it? Kill their children or his children? Where were BBC? What did BBC do? What did BBC say? Now, you African agent that work for BBC, did you report about ECOWAS when ECOWAS put sanction on those nations? When ECOWAS put sanction on those nations, When Nigeria blocked the entry of food supply to Niger, when they wanted Nigerian to starve and die, BBC, where were you? Did you report on it about humanity? Did you tell Nigeria this is about humanity? These are Africans. They need to live. So open the borders. Let food go. Did you do that? BBC, did you do that? Did you talk about it? And that will make this clear. Abraham Tuwari had the sole right, because at that time, John Mahama was not the president. Even though it was the day that he was supposed to be inaugurated, but he was not yet inaugurated, so he was not the president. So Abraham Tuwari did not trust Nana Akufo-Addo. Now, I'm not saying here Nana Akufo-Addo is an enemy to Africa or is an enemy to Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. What I'm saying here is Nana Akufo-Addo is an agent to Europe and America. So Abraham Tuwari did not trust Nana Akufo-Addo to protect him, because it was the same Nana Akufo-Addo that went to sit with his master, Anthony Blinken, and saw Abraham Tuwari. He did not stop there. He went to the United Nations, where other world leaders were giving issues affecting their nations, or progress they have made in their nation, or how they should tell the West to back up from their nation. Nana Akufo-Addo did not do that, but rather his United Nations speech was against Mali and Burkina Faso, for the U.S. to go there, for UN to go and wage war on these people. So his protection could not have come from Nana Akufo-Addo, because Nana Akufo-Addo was still the president until the matter be taken from him and given to John Mahama. But at that time, it have not yet happened. Nana Akufo-Addo was still the president. Anything could have happened that day. Nana Akufo-Addo could have decided, I am not giving a matter to John Mahama. I am still the president. Anything could have happened. This is a man, Equa, along with the US and Europe, about 19 or almost 20 assassination attempts, directly or indirectly. The recent one, or the one of the most recent one. Then we see billions of data to go and kill this man. You BBC, did you report on it? Have BBC ever reported on these issues about those assassination attempts on this man? BBC, have you ever reported on it? And you so-called African agent in Africa that against your own interest, did you ever report on it? Did you tell your slave master these are the things that are happening? Did you tell them we are not part of this kind of a report? And you sit down there, you want to make mockery on African interest? But I got news for you. What will happen, even though we are not going to allow it happen, but again, what will happen if the interest of the West is to succeed? What will happen to you so-called African Negroes who call themselves journalists? You are not a journalist. You are just there working for them on their demand, on their interest. So Abraham Tuwari, hand was not safe. His life was not safe. He had the right to protect himself. So we're not saying Nana Akufo-Addo is an enemy, but Nana Akufo-Addo is an agent of the devil. Nana Akufo-Addo is an agent of the enemies. Nana Akufo-Addo is an agent of the demon in the house. You think we will sit and watch another African leader, another great African leaders? You think we want to always come here to say, oh, Gaddafi gone again, oh, Lumumba gone, or Amilcar Cabral gone, or Malcolm X gone, or Dr. King gone? Do you think we want to always come here and say that? We want to come here and say, yes, this man is still alive. This man did this. The same way Europe and America can talk about their great leader that liberated them, that lived and died and got old and died. That's the same way we want to talk about our leaders. That's the same way we want to honor our heroes. That's the same way we want to talk about our heroes. Go out those days, you will go against our heroes, and then you may have to believe that those people were bad. Oh yes, you did it to Mugabe. You did it to Mugabe. Mugabe was not a bad man. Mugabe was not against African interests. In fact, Mugabe spoke. In fact, you hated Mugabe because he loved Africa. He wanted to do as Africans. You hated him for that. You love African leaders who always turn their back on Africa, and that's what made you a hypocrite. US and Europe. And this will be your downfall with this generation. Because you continue to displace your attitude. Do you think we love that or we like that? You think we will sit down and watch you continue there, do what you've been doing, and keep on doing it? And you think we'll keep silent? We will hate you for that too, because we feel you hate us. Nobody have interest in Russia. Nobody love Russia to say we're going to pick on because all those people have their interest. But let's stay here. If those people interest on the African continent, do not jeopardize African interest. Do not kill African leaders who want African interest, who want a betterment for African. Who will we go to? Should we go to the nations that are against African interests and killing African leaders who want a betterment for Africans' interests, or we will go for leaders who want to work alongside with African interests to create a better and safe environment? Who will we go to? Okay, who will you go to? Europe or US? Who will you go to if it were in your case? If it were in your case, who will you go to? Your answer to that question, right, will be our interest too. If the table turn all the way around, you have a nation that is oppressing you, you have a nation that is killing your great leaders, you have a nation that have no interest in your freedom, in your happiness, in your peace, and on the other hand, you have a nation that want to help you gain your peace, your freedom. Everything that belongs to you. Who will you go to? If you answer that answer right, then your answer will be based on our answer too. So flip the table around now. But let's see here, BBC saying you want to criticize to let you know that this generation, we are not generation that will go sit and listen to mainstream media. We are here. When we talk about decolonization, these are the things we're talking about. If it costs look, our plan here, let me make this clear to the US and Europe. Our plan with this current generation is to dissolve ECOWAS. And we care less. Our plan with this current generation is to dissolve AU. If AU continue to become Western puppet, if ECOWAS continue to go against African interests, if AU continue to go against African interests, we want them destroyed, because our main purpose, when we say decolonization, these are the things we're talking about. So we can't be talking about decolonization and then entities that are supposed to fight for Africans are not fighting for us, but they are fighting for Europe and America. No, they are part on, they are on the lace. They are on the lace of the decolonization. You think we care to destroy you or AU or to destroy ECOWAS? Oh yes. They are neo-colonialist entities, so we will destroy them. We have no interest in ECOWAS and AU as long as it continues to do what it's doing. You think we get interest in it? Because yesterday was Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, when AU and ECOWAS sat down and put sanctions on those nations by the order and instruction of Europe and US. So tomorrow, it could be another nation that will take the same path of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. That AU again will go against. You think we want to keep such entity in our midst? Our aim is to destroy them. And then we come out with new one for African interests. Let's see this here. I hope you reported on this. Let's see when Hillary Clinton, all right, Hillary Clinton was in Ghana. Let me see what the Ghanaian BBC reported on this. Let me see the commentary the Ghanaian BBC did on this.
Iran's president delivered an anti-American, anti-Western harangue at the annual UN General Assembly meeting today.
All right, so we're gonna come to the Ghana one, right? So this is the United Nations. Now, the reason why I brought this, right? This is in the US. I know somebody may say, but Frank, this is in the US. This was not in any other or African nation or in any other nation. Now, the reason why I brought this, imagine this is in the US, right? But it was on a day, at that time, she was the vice president, I think, for another puppet Africans, Barack Obama, right? Another slave, master to his another slave, right? So this time here, Hillary Clinton, I think she was the vice president, so she was attending this United Nations summit, right, where they have other world leaders. Now, why will Hillary Clinton have special forces or special security in the US? Only because they have other world leaders, right? People they believe to be their enemies from the Middle East. Don't believe me. I'm not making a story. Look here.
Diplomats from the U.S. and more than 30 other countries walked out when Mahmoud Ahmadinejad called Western countries arrogant powers that threaten any.
This was a leader from the Middle East. Now, when he was speaking, he refers to the Western nation as arrogant, as our paraphrase it, right? And he called them names, right? What happened? The European diplomat decided to walk out, right? Now, that's one aspect. The second aspect here is America saw these people as terrorists. So what did they do? They decided, right, to bump up their security presence, right, to protect who? Hillary. Now, this is what Malcolm X said. Why, when the white men do it, it is right. But what exactly the white man did, when a black man do it, it becomes wrong. And you know the thing about it? It is the black man that will say what the black man did, it was wrong. It is the black man that will say what the black man did, even though the white man did the same thing, right? The white man did not say it was wrong. In fact, the white man said it was right for protection, for this, for that. But if the black man go and do the same thing, it is the black man that will come to bring his or her black man down to say what you did was wrong. It was against humanity. It was against this. It was against that. But you will never see the white man say it was against humanity. Watch this.
Anyone who questions the Holocaust and September 11th. During this UN session, no one has been busier than Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Today alone, she attended 9 events all over Manhattan, covering everything from counterterrorism to third world economics. Who keeps her safe as she...
So, terrorism, right? Those in the Middle East. Terror economy, African nation. You see how intelligent these people insult people? Do you see how they insult Africans, right? That is why, right, you so-called Negro coming for this so-called United Nations summit, it makes no sense. See how these people, you think you are part of world leaders, right? And you are coming to a world stage. See how they reflect on you. You know what? Your economy does not measure to their economy. I mean, their economy, their GDP in trillions of dollars. And your GDP is not even in billion, it's in million. A continent like Africa, I can tell you, a continent like Africa, the entire Africa, their GDP will not be in trillion. A whole continent, GDP will not be in trillion. A whole continent, okay, with the vast majority of resources or the richest continent in the world, right? Your GDP cannot even reach $1 billion. But the US, small country like this, a small nation, GDP in $1 trillion. And then individual nation in Africa, individual nation in Africa. Look, just one state, okay? One state GDP in the US, okay? A nation in Africa GDP cannot even come close to it. Imagine that. One state in the US, a nation in Africa GDP can't even come close to it. Imagine that leader in Africa coming to the United Nations Summit and you think you are part of the world leader. Do you see how they look at you? You see how they describe you? A third world economic nation. So, in other words, they are also protecting their leader, Hillary Clinton at that time, from you, a third world country. Do you see that? Let's continue here. I mean, you so-called African journalists, I don't know you caught this or at that time, or because you work for your slave master. You don't see these things, right? Let's continue here. We have more to say. Let's continue.
He travels from place to place and country to country. Jim Axelrod got a rare inside look.
With New York City on high alert, the most highly protected woman in town is Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
Oh, I know, my friend. How are you?
For the State Department's...
All right, look here. A United Nations Summit, right? A United Nations Summit that she was attending. Look, these are security forces of the U.S. What is the security forces of the U.S. doing to a United Nations Summit? I thought the United Nations is supposed to be a peaceful place where everyone's are protected, right? But she have her own special security. The nation of the U.S. provided a security for her because they did not trust whosoever security of the UN that was at this event. You see guns. You see weapons. This is just one aspect. We're going to go to Ghana and you see what they did in Ghana. Did you see here? So, you so-called BBC, did you guys criticize what was going on here? Did you guys say, oh, how about the other leader? They were not protected. How about the other leader? What security personnel that was given to those other leaders? Because listen to me, they got leaders in leaders. When it comes to you Africans, coming with these so-called Europeans, they don't count you as leaders. Even, let me tell you this, African leaders, the governors in the U.S., the governors of those 50 states, they are more valuable than African leaders in the eyes of Europe and U.S. The governors, the United States governors in the U.S. here, in the 50 states, there are 50 governors. There are 50 governors, right? They are more valuable, more respected, need more protection. They are more human beings in the eyes of Africans, head of states. Okay, maybe you didn't get me again. Let me narrow it down. The Secretary of State of the United States, the Secretary of State of the United States, he is seen as a more superior than any African head of state. He is seen as more superior than any African head of state in the eyes of these people. When you so-called African head of state are meeting these people, they do not count you as president. Why will Joe Biden, why will Donald Trump see himself as president and then see an African leader as president? That is why they don't respect you people. That is why they don't count you people as leader. That is why they dictate you people. That is why they bring their foreign policy and tell you this. And when you say no, they tell you that we will not feed you, we will not give you money, we will put a sanction because they know you can't take care of yourself. They know they hustle you. They know they father you. They know they mother you. They know they clothe you, they feed you, they finance you. That is why they have no respect for you. It is what it is. So you so-called BBC analysts of Africans on the African continent, do you see here? You were putting your mouth on Abraham Traore. Why did they do this? They did this because they said that people coming from the Middle East, they are terrorists. They will be there. So they do not trust those people. They said that you so-called African, you are stink. Tell our country, tell our economy, you are coming here. They need to protect their first world economy president or leader. Jimmy Papa, are you getting it now? So the next time you criticizing Africans who are protecting themselves against the enemy, you should think twice.
Bureau of Diplomatic Security. This week is a carefully coordinated dance, a year in the planning, involving dogs, machine guns, armored vehicles, and 80 agents.
Copy. Take a next right. Entering chute.
Bill Embry directs the Secretary's motorcade and took us inside the security bubble.
What kind of things are you hearing in your ear?
Listening to any cars that might be approaching us from every angle, vehicles, pedestrians, bicycles, anything strange going down the road.
All right, we take that there. So you heard what he said, right? They are looking for anything, any sound, any little thing, right? What a human being, they don't care. They will pick it out, they will take it out. Did you see that in the US here? Only because they have other world leaders there that they didn't trust. You see that? So why would Abraham Traore want to trust Nana Akufo-Addo when Nana Akufo-Addo have displaced his attitude that the entire African continent and other African nations have seen it? Why would Abraham Traore want to trust his life with Nana Akufo-Addo when Nana Akufo-Addo at that moment, he was still the president? Nana Akufo-Addo at that moment was still the head of state of the Ghanaian army. He could have given order at any time because his slave master could have told him, look, take that man down. And Nana Akufo-Addo, being at what he had done, his attitude he had displayed, he would have given order to the Ghanaian military. Anything would have happened. And the Ghanaian military was going to act because Nana Akufo-Addo is the commander-in-chief of the army. At that time, it was not John Mohammed. John Mohammed was not the president at that time. He was never given a motto. Nana Akufo-Addo still had a motto in his hand. All could change. Anything could change. What you expected Abraham Traore to do when Nana Akufo-Addo is an agent or was an agent at that time? Oh, sorry, I was muted. What I was trying to say was this. What we're about to see here was Kamala Harris in Ghana. While she was in Ghana, the Ghanaian military were being deprived. The Ghanaian military were deprived. The Ghanaian military were reduced to civilians. The Ghanaian military were reduced to slave. Because the U.S. took our own military on a foreign ground. With ammunition, heavily loaded with weapons, machinery, protecting Kamala Harris. Where was BBC? Where was the Ghanaians reporter who worked for BBC? What did they say? Did they say it was a breach of contract? It was against rule of law? Why anytime the white men do it, it is right. But when the black men do it, it is wrong. Why? And it is the black men that will criticize the black men. What you have done was against rule of law, was against protocol, was against it. Why? But yesterday, the white men did it in your eyes, and you said nothing. Now watch this and see. All right, it's a short video, right? But because of the sound, the music, because of copyright, right, which might come to, how they call it, strike us, and we might lose, how they call it, we might lose the video because they will send the video or whatever proceed or anything that will be generated will go to them, right? So that's why I'm going to take the music off. So it's going to be silent. But again, look right here. This was in Ghana. This is not in the U.S. Let me carry back. Hold on. Let me push it back a little bit. All right. Now, what you about to see, it was not in the U.S. This was in Ghana. Now, the so-called journalists in Ghana, those so-called BBC journalists. Now, not all the journalists. I'm talking about those so-called agents that spoke against Abraham Traore. This goes to them. Not all the journalists in Ghana. I know there are so meaningful journalists who understand the subject matter, who are working for the interests of Africans and for the upliftment of Africans. But this goes to the so-called Negro P African journalists in Ghana who went on the side of the West and then spoke against their own interests. This goes to them. Now, this was in Ghana. Look right here, from the security to the photographer, they were all Americans. They were all white. So at this time, African journalists or the so-called African BBC reporter, they were nowhere to be found. Look over the roof. You see photographer, like get how they call it, spotting camera, trying to view the entire place. For who? Who were they doing it for? Ghanaians? They were doing it against you because they feared you were a threat. You are going to kill their bad president. So they did not come to you. They said you are terrorist. So they brought their own army, they brought their own reporters, and they were all around there videotaping to see any Ghanaians who will make any move, and you'll be dead. Did the Ghanaian so-called BBC come out to speak about this? I doubt it. But let's see here. So look right here. This was in Ghana. See the arms, see machine, see weapons, see weapon. So why was this different from Abraham Traore? We ask you, the BBC Ghanaian reporter, why was this different from Abraham Traore? Why? Why was this different from Abraham Traore? Why? Why didn't you say the Ghanaian government or the Ghanaian army could have protected Kamala Harris? This is recent, by the way. It's not far because Kamala Harris just left power in January of this year. Right? Or she stayed. In fact, she stayed the president. She stayed the vice president. She's gonna be leaving office Monday. In fact, tomorrow on the 20th. Sorry, let me clarify that. She's still the vice president. She is still the vice president, and she's gonna be leaving office tomorrow. So this is recent. She's still the vice president. So this is recent when she visited Ghana. Why didn't the same BBC reporter says this was a breach of contract? This was against the rule of law. Why didn't they say the Ghanaian army could have protected Kamala Harris? Why? Why? Well, yesterday this was right, but today an African leader did it is wrong. You see, Africans, we sometimes, in most cases, we are the problem to our failure. We the one bring division among ourselves, and then when the colonizer just pop the question, and then we take it, we run with it, and then we cause the division, and then we accompany the aim of the colonizer, and then we start fighting among ourselves. This unity, bound. Their aim are being accomplished, and then we are fighting among ourselves. This got to stop. If it was right yesterday, when Westerners do it, when foreigners do it, when alien, this alien were in Ghana, these were alien, they don't even have alien number. They did not even have an alien number. But these aliens were in Ghana with their own military, depriving the Ghanaian military. And you sat and said nothing. These aliens, they don't even have alien number to operate in Ghana. But they were there. You sat and said nothing. But your African brother protected himself from an agent of the West, and you criticize him. I will say this. That division that you guys want to bring among us, maybe it was yesterday, but not this generation, because we understand the subject matter. It will never work. You will not cause division, because as far as we know, Abraham Traoré is the best #1 president of our time in this current generation. And this man is leading Assimi Goïta and Tiani and other leaders, African leaders, to follow, to make them great. So as far as we are concerned, Abraham Traoré is the greatest African leader of our time currently. And we will do everything to protect him. We will do everything to correct the narrative that Western media will want to bring, and the so-called African who don't understand what time it is. We will protect these people. African who will do the right thing, we will protect them. We will always make sure and correct the narrative. And those African leaders who want to continue to be slaves, we are ready for you people. You see right there? These are U.S. security. So it was right yesterday, but today is wrong when an African leader do it. Kamala Harris visit Ghana. So that will show another one again why Abraham Traoré did that, and we will support him. He shouldn't worry. Abraham Traoré shouldn't worry. We are the African true BBC and the African true journalists. We will correct the narrative, and our people will hear. You are protected. All we want you to do your part. We will do our part. Just be good. Keep doing what you are doing. We will do our part. You see here? Anytime they kill a revolutionary African who have interest in Africa, the West rejoice. What you're about to see, it was Hillary Clinton that was rejoicing when she heard about the death, the capture of Gaddafi. You know what she said? Oh no, it's not yet confirmed, because she wanted to see Gaddafi's body before she accept that yes. Because you know what she said in our video? She said, we have tried so many times. Did you see that? We have tried so many times. So at that point, when they told her, she did not believe it until she wanted to see his dead body. Because they had tried so many times, they couldn't get him. So it was the dead body that she wanted to see before confirming that yes, it did, indeed, we did it. And then before she could rejoice. So did you see that? Now, you Africans, even the so-called BBC journalists in Africa, was Gaddafi a bad human being? If you truly did your research as a journalist, was Gaddafi a bad human being? If you did your research, no, he was not a bad human being. Then why the West call him terrorist? Why the West wanted him out? Because anything that is to make Africans happy, anything that is to make African independent, anything that is to make African reclaim what belongs to them will raise the anger, the frustrations of the West. And that they will see you, they will see us as enemy. They will see us as terrorists. That's how they view us. With the West, you don't have to bomb them. You don't have to kill them. Africans, I mean, and history has proven you don't have to take arms. And which, of course, it is not even in our DNA to do that. But you don't have to take arms. You don't have to talk against US. All you need to do is fight for African interest. You become US enemy. You become Europe enemy. Just fight for African interest. That's all. Just try to educate Africans. You become an enemy straight. That's all. That's the only weapons. You try to educate Africans, that's a weapon. The US see that as a weapon. Europe see that as a weapon. That's all.
Wow. Huh.
Unconfirmed.
Unconfirmed. Yeah.
You heard that? Unconfirmed, because she did not, like, she wanted to see his real body on the ground dead. So you heard what she said? Wow. So for sure we got this guy this time. Did you see that? Did you see how they rejoice? So you so-called Ghanaian BBC journalists, is this what you wanted to see happen to Abraham Traoré, just in case if it could have happened? Because imagine, the agent of the US was still the president. The agent of Europe was still the president. Nana Akufo-Addo was still the president. Rule could have changed. Rule could have changed. Rule could have changed. So you see in this video, look at Hillary Clinton. Wow. So this is really happening. So this really happened at this time. These people are not in our interest. They will never be in your interest. Never. Never. Now, we're not saying this all hate. It's not hate. It's education. We are teaching here. It is the obvious. It is the truth. Because we see it. Who will want to rejoice? Why would I want to rejoice on something that will benefit you? That will make you independent? then why would I want to take it out? They are rejoice over it. Why would I want to rejoice over your demise? These people continue to show us they rejoice over our demise, then things that will make us happy, things that will make us happy and make them angry. But things that will make us vex, things that will make us go back, things that will make us fall, things that will make us devour, they rejoice over it. So why do you think? You think these people will ever work with us to pull Africa to where Africa want to be for the benefit of Africans? Interest, you think so? It will never be. Even as much as we want to try, and which of course we have been trying. Nelson Mandela did it, but look at South Africa state today. Look at South Africa state today.
Yeah. Unconfirmed reports about Gaddafi being captured. Unconfirmed. Yeah, we've had too many. We've had a bunch of those before. We've had, have had him captured a couple of times.
So you heard that, Claire. This is not propaganda. You heard it. In all of what she was saying, look, I want to see his body. You heard it. We have had this couple of times. We have tried. So now you Africans that believe the so-called BBC, the same BBC narrated that Gaddafi killed his people, he tortured his people, he did this. But in this video, do you see what Hillary Clinton was saying? So their aim was to get this guy. It was not about what he was doing. Look, let me tell you something. If Europe and America was actually fighting for Africans, but now they could have removed corrupt leader, but now they could have removed Tinubu. Because what is Tinubu actually doing for Nigeria? What is Tinubu doing for Nigeria? What did Nana Akufo-Addo really do for Ghanaian? What did they do? What did he do really? Nothing. Look at Liberia today. Even Liberia. What is the current president, Joseph Boakai, doing for Liberia? Another dictator. Why the West not removing these people? Those are the kind of leaders they want in power. Because they want you to wake up every day, right? All you should think of is how to find food today to eat and live for the next day. They do not want a prosperous nation that will get up tomorrow and think about innovation. They do not want, Europe and America do not want a nation or an African nation who people will wake up tomorrow and not think about, I want to eat today. All I want to do today is to find food to eat. They do not want a nation like that. They do not want a nation that will wake up today and say, no, we need to be innovative. They do not want that kind of nation. They do not want a people of a nation who will wake up and think about far ahead and think about the future. They do not want us, that kind of nation. They want a nation who will only think about today, how to get food and eat, and the next day you live. That's it. They do not want you to be innovative. They do not want it. Why do you think the only thing Europe and America can promote on the African continent is pastoralism? To go and pastor, minister, to missionary. Those are the only things Europe and America can sponsor, can do on the African continent. Build churches. Churches. They're having, look, let me say this. African, you are going nowhere. You will not go to heaven. You know what? Let me say this. This is a revolutionary channel. Let me say this. I know some of you Christians come and get in your feelings again. Some of you Christians come and get in your feelings. There is no heaven. There is no heaven. Let me tell you this. Let's go back. It says what? Let's go back to creation, right? I didn't want to go there, but we will still go there because I brought it up. Let's see this. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now, if heaven is created, so that means heaven is supposed to be physical, right? No, understand. Let me look. You see, the Bible. The Bible is not something that you can't. I mean, people will tell you can't question the Bible. No, you should question the Bible. Anybody that tell you do not question the Bible, then that's a false doctrine. Any pastor, any preacher that tells you never question the Bible or never question God's words, that pastor is a false preacher, because you know what? Proverbs 14:15 says, only a fool will believe everything that he or she sees or hears. But the wise will always go and do research. The wise will always go and question. The wise will always want to learn more. You understand that? Any preacher that tells you can't question God's words, you can't question the Bible, that person is a false preacher and that person is a false prophet. And I repeat, Proverbs 14:15 says, only a fool. So if you can't question God's word, you are a fool. That's God say it. That's not me. Because God wants you to learn more. God does not want you to just be a believer. No, God wants you to learn. Ask questions. God wants you to be a wise man. That's why when Jesus was born, according to the Bible, who went to him? Those that went to him were not believers. They never called him believer. They called him wise man. Wise man. They never called him believer. Those that went to see Jesus, they did not refer to them as believer. They called them wise men. Why? And go to Proverbs 14:15. Only a fool will believe everything that is being told. Only a fool will read everything and believe it. But the wise, you hear it? The wise one, the wise man will always ask questions before believing. The wise one will always go and learn and do research to find out the truth. So you are a fool. You Christian that said don't question God, don't question the Bible. You are a fool. The Bible says you are a fool. Now let's continue here. We're still going to come back to that Bible, by the way. We're going to come back. But let's continue. So you see that. And as I was saying, the only thing Europe and America can take to Africa, the only technology they can take there is to go build churches. The only how they call it, engineer they can take there is pastors. The only scientist they can take there, pastors. The only doctor they can take there, pastors. But guess what? In the US here, all those of you that have been traveling, have you ever seen the US go to Africa and take pastors and bring them to America or to Europe? Have you seen it? No. When they go to Africa and they want the knowledge, they don't go for pastors. They go for the brain. They go for the knowledge, technology. They go for those people. They go for people who believe in doctor, right? They go and search for knowledge. They go and see you. I don't care how you can memorize the entire Bible. America will not bring you here. That's not you America looking for. Have you asked yourself? Now, as I was saying, there is no heaven. Let's go back again. Like I said, anything that is created is physical. God created the earth. The earth is physical, right? And everything he created in it is physical, right? No, be with me. That's why I quoted Proverbs 14:15. I want you to be with me. Before you start calling me names, just be with me. If I'm making sense or not. I want you to be wise. Don't just be a believer. I don't want you to be a fool, like the Bible says. Only a fool will not ask questions. Only a fool will believe everything he hears or he sees. Only a fool will not go do research. I don't want you to be a fool. I want you to be the wise one. Listen to this. I want you to question your pastor. I want you to question the Bible. If in the beginning, heaven was part of God's creation, that means God did not live in heaven before creating heaven and earth. He lived somewhere else. Again, now we have to know where he lived before creating the heaven and earth. But let's come back to the heaven and earth. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Ask yourself, if heaven was part of creation, that means heaven is physical. Because earth was part of creation, earth is physical. He said, let us make man in our own image. He made man. The same way he created heaven and earth, he created man. So man is physical. Right? Right? Man is physical because he created it. So it's physical. Right? He created the water bodies. Water body is physical. He created trees. I mean, everything. They are physical. Then why heaven is not physical? Because in the Bible, it did not say after creating heaven and earth, then he changed heaven so that man as a creature or as a creation of God can see it. It's not nowhere in the Bible that he changed heaven to a different thing. Right? So why can't we see heaven? Now, let's do this again. The same church, Christian, they say heaven is a peaceful place, right? Okay. Why no one wants to go to heaven until they die? The only time you go to heaven when you die. So that means heaven is something that you can see. Heaven is what? Spiritual. Heaven is not physical. So heaven was not part of creation. Let's be frank here. Anything that is created is physical. So if heaven was part of earth creation, then if you can see heaven, you're not supposed to see earth. It may not make sense to you because I know you're not deep into this. You're on the surface. You just believe everything you see. And that's why the Bible says, don't believe everything you hear or you see. Even what you read, question it. Go and do follow research. Be wise. That's why when Jesus was born, it was wise people that came to see him. It was not believer. They were wise men that came to see him, not believer. So the only time you go to heaven is when you die. That's why when you die, when they bury you, then they say, what did they say? They say, oh, now he has gone to his resting place. Now he has gone to heaven. You see that? Now he's in heaven. So no physical feature can go to heaven. No physical feature can go to heaven. You die. And when you die, that's heaven there. That's it. No physical feature will ever go to heaven. Heaven is something that you can see. Anything that you can see is heaven. Only spirit. Can you see spirit? No. Spirit in your heaven there. That's a war. Heaven is just another war that the physical being don't exist. Only the spiritual being exists. So that's why on earth, you always have two things, right? You have human being and you have chimpanzee. You have, so it is that's how it is. So that was just another thing that was created so that if you are not in the physical, you will be in the spiritual and you will be that side. You will be on that side. Heaven is just a photocopy of the earth. Like you have spirit, right? Your spirit. Heaven is the spirit of the earth. Heaven is the spirit of the earth. Earth is the physical body. And heaven is a what? The soul. Heaven is the soul. The same way you have your physical body, and then when you die, then they say the soul has risen, or the soul left the body. Earth as itself to have soul. The earth has soul. So the heaven, the spiritual aspect of side is that's the heaven there. The heaven is the soul of the earth. So anything that is heaven, that means it is spiritual. It is spirit. So if you are on a physical, you are not in heaven. You are not on a spiritual. If you are on a spiritual, that means you die, then you are on the heaven side. Something that you do not see is heaven. So when he was creating the earth, he created the physical and he created the spiritual. So when you die, you live on that side. You are part of the spirit. That's the heaven. So that's why when Jesus died, they said he has risen. He went to heaven. So when you die, you go there too. That place your spirit go. Jesus' spirit is in our same place. You die, your spirit go in our same place. All of you are in our same spirit. Think. The Bible is about thinking. The Bible is just is African. The Bible is a history book. It's a belief of African practices. And we're going to see some of that here today. Today, this is a revolutionary era. You're going to see some of that here today. Right? And let me just mention one thing before we get into this. The same people, the same preachers will tell you the time Jesus was born, there was no letter J. The time Jesus was born, there was no letter J. J did not exist at that time. Right? But the same Bible in Matthew, when you read it, Matthew 15:24 something, when you read it, where they say a son will be born by the Virgin Mary, he will come to save his people, right? His possessive, specific group of people, right? But we're not going into that. But what I want to say here is, they said that time when he was born, the letter J did not exist. Then why it was prophesied that somebody going to be born, his name would be Jesus. So that means his name existed, J existed before he was born. That's contradiction. The time he was born, J did not exist. The letter J did not exist. But before he was born, the same Bible says, a child shall be born by the name Jesus. So if he was born before the name existed, but it was predicted that he's going to be born, the name will be Jesus. So, and people say when he was born, the time he was born, the name J did not exist, right? Another contradiction. Now, look at this. Jesus' father's name was what? Joseph. But at the time Jesus was born, and Joseph was born before Jesus. So how can you tell at the time Jesus was born, the letter J did not exist? And Joseph existed before Jesus. Yes, back. So that means what am I trying to say here? Jesus' father's name was not Joseph. At the time Jesus was born, J did not exist. That means his name was not Jesus. Because at that time they never spoke English. So the name they gave him was a name from that tribe. They never spoke English. And even if there was a revelation that a child would be born, right? That revelation will only come in the revelation of that tribe, the language they spoke at that time. Go back to Proverbs 14:15 again. Only a fool will believe what he sees. When you read these things now, you got to start answering. Question got to start coming. So at that time, any prophecy that was made in the language that they spoke at that time. And any name that will be given was given in the language and the name and the culture at that time. It will not be given in English name or English interpretation. Because at that time they never spoke English, they spoke Aramaic. So anything given will be given in Aramaic, any prophecy, and any name given will be given according to the name of that culture. So a J did not exist at the time Jesus was born. So that means Jesus' father, Joseph, his name was not Joseph, because he existed before Jesus. And when Jesus came, the name did not exist, J, or the letter. So that means when Joseph was living, the name J did not exist, because Joseph came before Jesus. And when Jesus came, the letter J was not there. So that means Joseph, his name was not Joseph. I mean, Jesus' father. Another error again. This Bible is African history. And we're going to prove that again today. We're going to get some proof, some evidence. We're not speaking opinion here. This is a revolutionary channel. We know the Bible too. Let me tell you now. Don't see all like this. We read because we want to know the truth. So when we sit here, we can go to the Bible and tell the Bible inside outside. We will quote upon quotation and we will explain it to you. We don't have to go to theological school. And I told my family, I will not sit on anyone who have gone to a theological school to become pastor. That's not what God says. Anybody that go to a 4-year school to become a pastor, you will do that as a career. Because who's going to pay money, thousands of dollars, to go and get a degree? You doing that as a career because you want to pay that student loan back. You want to use that to feed your family because that's why you went to learn to do it. You're not preaching word of God. You will mislead people because you will preach what people want to hear. That people will come to your church to get tithe offering. I'm not going to sit on you. As long you go, I didn't go to theological school, but what I know, a pastor, you must be very careful to debate or to talk about it to me. Because the question that will come from me, it will make you look stupid. It will make you look dumb in your own belief. Let's continue. We're going to come to the Bible a little bit. Because I brought it out, we're going to come there. But anyway, let's get back. Now, to the African journalist, to the African BBC journalist, who mock Abraham Traore, who mock African leaders, who are doing the same thing the Westerner did, or America did, or do in African nations, right? This is what they will do to you, what I'm about to show you. This is what they will do to you. If you think you are part of the world journalist body, you get it wrong. You are not part. You are not part. You will never be part. The same way they look at African leaders, that's how they look at you. You are not part and you will never be part. This is for you.
They will never be forgiven. By they, I mean the Western governments who have armed and facilitated Israel's genocide for 465 days as I speak, knowing full well the horrors being inflicted every single day. By they, I mean the Western media outlets who have legitimized Israel's war crimes, who have failed to frame their coverage around the explicitly and repeatedly stated genocidal intent of Israeli leaders and officials who have airbrushed atrocities, failed to hold their governments to account for their criminal complicity, and failed to even show a modicum of solidarity for the Palestinian journalists who have suffered the biggest slaughter of media workers in the history of human civilization as they risk their lives every single day to bring the world the depraved, hideous truth of what Israel is doing to the Palestinian people. Which brings me to this devastating speech. It is a speech by the Palestinian journalist Abu Bakr Ahmed, who is from Deir al-Balah in Gaza. He's only 22 years old, and he has already done more important work than countless Western journalists combined will ever do in their whole careers. And he has done so while risking his life every single day, every single hour, every single minute. It's a press conference and it's addressed to the Western media. Please listen and listen carefully.
You know, I know they were messing with the water, letting reserve.
These are not my words, but the words of every single one here, standing here after 459 days of the most well-documented and first live-streamed genocide in history. For these days, we've been reporting tirelessly, extensively, and thoroughly on this genocide. It's indeed a genocide against us, which we've been documenting in makeshift tented camps and workplaces. They are really the places we've taken shelter since day one. You've seen us shedding tears over our loved ones, colleagues, friends, and family members. You've seen us killed in every possible way. We've been immolated, incinerated, dismembered, and disemboweled. And recently, we've been freezing to death. What more ways should you be seeing us killed in so that you can move and act and stop the hell inflicted upon us? There are no words to describe what we've been going through, because you've seen our bodies, how they've become fragile, skinny, and fatigued. But we never stopped. We never stopped to tell you the truth, to narrate our stories, and to tell you that we are being genocided, to move your dead consciences, to help a population that has seen every sort of torture and tasted every type of death. Today, we're all standing here after Israel's impunity against us. And we don't know how many journalists should be killed so you can really act and stop Israel's impunity against us. Our message is very clear. We are journalists, and we are Palestinian journalists. We have been let down by the international community, particularly the international media organizations.
All right, you heard that, right? That's the part I wanted you to hear. We have been you heard that part, right? He said, we are journalists, right? I'm going to paraphrase it. Just like the international journalists, we all have been working together. We thought we were all journalists, that we will be recognized, right? The same way we recognize you people, right? The international media and things, right? But now, this is our time, right? Look at what we're going through. Look at the kind of journalists that have been killed. Look at the report we are giving, right? Look at what is going on. We are writing our story. You heard it. But at the end, what he said, they do not care. That's how you Africans, if you continue to follow the Western media or mainstream narrative, because you feel that you are a BBC reporter, so you want to be on camera, you want to get out there, okay, for international people to see you, and then to talk about you, and then so you can feel so proud that, oh, now you are on a war stage, you are on a Western media, you are getting report, because that's how you want to feel, so you can feel so important, right? If you go and give those narratives that will cause chaos, just how these journalists, I cry their frustrations. That's how you will be crying with your frustration. That's how you will be neglected. They do not care about you. You see what is going through in a part of the world. Today, what they are facing, they don't count it as war journalists. Yesterday, they were journalists when they were in Ukraine. reporting the truth. Yesterday, there were journalists when they were other part of the world reporting and giving exactly what the Western mainstream media wanted. But today, they are in their country and seeing what is going on and reporting against Israel of what Israel is doing. Today, they are left alone because they are not carrying the narrative of mainstream media. Did you see that? African journalists, be mindful. Be mindful. You saw what they did with African Stream. They went against African Stream. They made sure to destroy African Stream. But they did not destroy us. That's what I will tell you. You did not destroy African Stream. You will never destroy African Stream. We always bounce back. So you so-called African journalists that think you work for CNN, BBC, ABC, just see what is going on in Palestine with those journalists. But let's continue here. This is for you. I just brought it out to see, right? So you can see the next time, know what kind of report to give about Africa. Let it be for African interest. Let it be a report that will unite African. Let it be a report that will liberate African. Anything that will bring division and chaos, don't be part of it. Change your story around to unite us. Tell those people you are no longer a slave journalist. Now, let me bring something here, and then before we go to the Bible, let me bring something here quick so you can see. Because I said we got to go to the Bible. The Bible is African people's story. I want to correct that, all right? Because I don't want to leave it out. Because I said the Bible is African people's story. It's not European story. The Europeans stole your story. The European manipulated your story and make it their story. But the Bible is African people history, not European history. European manipulated your story and make it their story and make it their picture. But before we get that, I want you to see something.
Channel choosing us today. I'm very grateful. Before we get into it, guys, kindly click on the like button and also subscribe to be part of the family in Ghana. Yes, I use that word. Today, we still have people who have sense in Ghana. Yes, I use that word intentionally. We still have people who have sense in Ghana. When Ibrahim Traore came to Ghana for the 2025 John Mahama presidential inauguration, it was amazing. I mean, the guy received a lot of loves. You all saw the video, how the public went wild when his name was mentioned. Before his name was mentioned, representatives from the United States were there. Representatives from the United Kingdom were there. Representation from all the African countries were there. But the guy received the loudest applause, and even Mahama confirmed that he was surprised and he can now see how popular the guy is in Africa. And then from whatsoever or whoever, whatever, I don't even know how to construct the English. Then a minor conversation pop up about why Ibrahim Traore came to Ghana and going to greet the president of Ghana. He was holding gun. It was micro conversation. This even made me to see that I think some of the media houses in Ghana are working with BBC and the Western media, because these micro individuals channel the conversation and then boom, BBC pick on that conversation and try to make it a big deal. We have sensible people in Ghana who also join the conversation, and I think it is very necessary to pull it out so that the way BBC is projecting it should not look to the international community that Ghanaians hate Ibrahim Traore. No, we have sensible people. 2 people in Ghana reacted to the rumors and this conversation of gun, or this gun conversation. One of them is a pastor. These are pastors that we need to respect. Pastors that can look straight to the face of the politicians and tell them the truth. Pastors that can speak truth to power. His name is Pastor Ojuro. Ghanaians know him very well. He is solid, a fireman, and also Somebody also joined the conversation whose name is Black Rasta. Black Rasta also joined the conversation and then schooled the entire Ghanaian population, reflecting what happened on the 7th of January with how Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso was behaving. He equated it and then it was almost the same. You understand how Thomas Sankara and Rawlings were behaving those days. So we are going to go right into the speech of these two individuals because the two speech carry two purposes. The first one from Black Rasta is educating them. The second one from the pastor was fire. Guys, watch.
Why is this a problem? People are talking about it. Wait, all about it. Rawlings used to have a gun in his shoes. Going from country to country with a gun. Rawlings became the person who promoted gun in the boot as a soldier. There's a photo of Rawlings and Sankara. See if you can see it. And you see Rawlings and Sankara, both of them wearing military attire with guns in their shoes. Or some parts like that. Rawlings only put aside the gun that he was holding when he became comfortable that the risk around him had minimized. This is Rawlings and Sankara. Can you see the gun? Rawlings went everywhere with his gun. Many more pictures will show Sankara and Rawlings with guns on them everywhere they went. The soldier is a friend to the gun. So if a soldier says, I'm coming to visit you, and you tell him, put away your gun, it's like a priest coming to visit you and you say, put away your Bible. So
Yes, I did follow the story. I'm still doing some research on it, but yes, I saw a video as well. The Nigeria trying to join, how do you call it, the BRICS. I will do a report on it when I return. But again, I don't trust Nigeria. I mean, okay, let me not say this. I don't trust Tinubu. Let me not say Nigeria. I don't trust Tinubu. Yes, I don't just trust Tinubu. I think the reason why Tinubu is doing it, again, this is WCC, right? We like to analyze things, and that's why I don't talk about it yet, but I'm still researching. The reason why Tinubu is doing this, get in mind, the leadership the United States have now, it is not a globalist leadership. It is a nationalist. And you see these puppet African leaders who depend on a globalist for financial assistance, they are not going to get it from Donald Trump. And they need somewhere to keep getting finances. That is why they're going to BRICS, because there will still be some kind of a financial benefit from BRICS. Now, what is going to be telling African leaders what to do, what not to do, this, that. For that, I'm not sure that's going to happen. But again, there will still be financial assistance some kind of way, somewhere there, right? I'm not saying holistically that's why Tinubu is going there for. But again, I do not trust Tinubu just because of what I saw. Again, these people know they are not going to continue getting finances or financial support from the US. They are not going to get financial support again from the World Bank, from IMF, because of the leadership the United States have. Now, I love the current leadership the US have, actually, because this man is not just going to take money and give it to these puppet African leaders. We saw Donald Trump, his past 4 years, what he said about Africa, what he said about African leaders. And as we speak currently, Donald Trump has already said he's going to cut off financial supply to Canada. That is not my concern. But again, just to answer your question, yes, I did see that, and I'm still doing research on it because I want to make sure and come out with the correct analysis, even if it is not 100%, right, tomorrow, but at least it will be about 90% where we will see and say, yeah, okay, WCC reported on this, and we already know how it's going to happen. But as it stands, I'm still putting pieces and understanding together. I do not believe Tinubu. I don't trust Tinubu. But yes, it is true. Nigeria is heading towards that, the BRICS. But again, when Listen to this. Tinubu only did this decision because liberals are not in power or globalists are not in power. This decision came in the moment Donald Trump won an election. But if let's say Kamala Harris was going to win an election, I can tell you, Tinubu was never going to take the stand to say he's joining BRICS. Never. He was never going to do it. So that is why I don't trust him. So I'm still putting the pieces together, and I trust me, we're going to do report on it. All right, we're going to do report on it. I'm putting the pieces together, but I don't trust Tinubu.
So that is Black Rasta. Perfect explanation. Let's go straight to the pastor. Fire. You know, he mixed the conversation with a little bit, just a little bit of our local dialect, and then he reinterpreted it. It was fire. Guys, listen to this.
The impact Burkina Faso have made. And we are sitting here and we were talking nonsensical madness against that. He's a coup maker. He took gun and came to power. Those of you who have not taken gun, what have you been able to achieve? A month ago, this young man commissioned a tomato factory, $12 million. You people said you were building a dam with $12 million. Where is the dam? Where is your dam? This young man is a sensible human being. Sensible human being. And he is working. The people feel he is some kind of an idol. The work where udiska obekum onem obebo utirimutu. He will shoot you in the head. Try and chop money in the government of this young man. Yeah. And we allow somebody with a gun to come close to our president. So the funny police one and Independence Square. You are too much hypocritical people. Hey, young man, Kosuya Wajuma. Continue your work. Tiana and say, Uno Kikane Emode. A young man can build tomato factory, build schools. He has shut his doors. Someone say ECOWAS. I didn't care about your ECOWAS. Now, look at. A leader comes and invites this young man. He's seeing that this young man but you're marking it too fast. I haven't said, I am only pointing my head. Sorry, Apple. Sorry.
So these are two great people in Ghana who also champion or join the conversation, which prove that BBC is only feeding on these micro individuals to make a big case out of nothing. Ghanaians love Ibrahim Traore. Not all Ghanaians are in support. The people that are championing this gang conversation, I told you in my previous video that they cannot even become.
All right. Now, I brought this pastor aspect, all right, because I want to speak about the Bible a little bit. And before I get it right, these are the kind of pastors we want in Africa. These are the kind of pastors we want on the African continent and in African nations, right? Pastors that will speak the truth, that will awaken their people. These are the kind of pastors we want, all right? Pastors that will see the truth and speak the truth and let your people know the truth. These are the kind of pastors we want to see. Now, having said that, right? Let's do this. You know, you remember I said something like, the only people U.S. and America can send to Africa are pastors, are missionaries, right? Now, let's see this. You know, this whole Jesus. It is African story. It is not European story. Jesus is not for European. Jesus is Africans and is African people's story. Whether you like it or not, that is why you have to read Proverbs 14:15 to understand and start asking questions. Jesus is not white people's story. Jesus is black people's story. And his name was not Jesus. And we just explained that a little bit here. His father's name was not Joseph. Because the time Jesus was born, there was no letter J. So if there was no letter J and Joseph was born before Jesus, that means the time even Joseph was born, there was no letter J. So that means his name was not Joseph either. Then what was his name? Oh, okay. Let's continue with this story here. Let's go back to King Leopold's letter. Then before we come back to a video of Jesus's. Now I'm saying Jesus because that's the name you know, right? But his name is not Jesus. Even the Bible talk about his name, who his name was. Okay? Now, let's go back to King Leopold. In fact, I know why I call him king. The killer. Let's go back to the killer Leopold of Belgium, the second of Belgium. Let's see his letter. Let's read something from there, connect the dot. Now, this is a letter that was written in 1883 to the Berlin Conference. So, this was around the time period when you hear about missionary. This was the very first time. Let me put it this way. One of the very first time, all right, that we saw European missionary who went to preach the so-called Bible, which is African story. Who went to preach the so-called Bible, which is African story. Now, bear in mind, before this time period, before the 1882, 83, because 1884 was the Berlin Conference, and this is 1883, right? Before 1883, what happened? Right? We saw European on the African continent. Somebody like Alexander the Great, right? These are people, Greek philosophers that went on the African continent. They learned and they became great places that Timbuktu, today Mali. Alexander the Great went to Ethiopia, went to how they call it, Egypt. Okay, they learned. Alexander the Great did not learn his education in Greek or in Greece. His entire education was in Africa. Now, after he learned Africa, he decided to stay in Africa to build a library to study more. The only reason why he built a library in Africa was to study more. Now, after he learned the African story, the African this, that, right? Then he built a library, studied more, and then before he left, because he wanted to destroy evidence that he learned that his education came from Africa, what he did, he put the library on fire and burned it. He put the library on fire and burned it. He was burning evidence. He was burning evidence to prove that indeed his education did not come from Africa, it came from Europe. That's why he burned the evidence. Now, another evidence is the European. Look at it, around the 60s, when Africa was fighting for independence, what did they do? They burned down everything they built. They burned it down, they destroyed it. Listen to this, folks. They burned it and they destroyed it. And it is happening in 2025 when Africans are still telling them to leave. They are angry and creating proxy war and destroying things, just in different ways. So before 1884 Berlin Conference, Leopold of Belgium, the colonizer, they came out with a member to teach the missionary, to teach Africans to forgo their culture. Listen to this. Before we come to the Bible, before we come to Jesus's, right? I got a video for you. But let's stick to this. Let's read this and we connect the dots. Let's read Leopold. All right? Letter from King Leopold II of Belgium to the colonial missionary. That is why when you see, anytime you see European missionary on the African continent, boo at them, run behind them, do not welcome them. Because of some of these things. Listen what they said here. Now, when somebody come to you and tell you, say, it was a white man that told, how they call it, God to Africa, tell them you are a blunt lie. The other reason why people are not torturing them because most of our people are ignorant. They do not know. But it was not European that taught Christianity, or it was not even Christianity at that time, but it was not European that introduced Jesus or God or Yahweh to us. It was African that introduced the Creator to them. To the white man, it was Africans that introduced it to them. But what they did was, they rewrote the story to fit to their narrative. And then, in order to convince us to colonize us, after they learned from us, they rewrote our story, then they brought it back to us. Because let's stick to this. Oh man, history is good. Let's stick to this. Let's go back to the creation. It says what? After God created the heaven and the earth, we have spoken about that, right? I'm not going to go there. But after God created that, what was another creation that he did? He created man, right? And then he said, let us make man in our own image. Now, let's stick to this. When he said, let us make man in our own image, what did he do? He went to the ground and took the clay. What is the color of the clay? What is the color of the ground? Black. So when he says, let us make man in our own image, and the image of the ground of the soil is black, what does that tell you? The Creator is black. The Bible is black man history. Let us make man in our own image. And he took the soil, and the soil is black. And he made man out of the soil in his image. The image of God is the same as the soil. Now, if you read the book of Revelation chapter 1, verse 1 to 15, it will tell you the image of God from head to toes. Right? That is one aspect. That is to tell you it was not a white man that introduced, as you think, God to Africa. It was not a white man that introduced the way of worship to Africans. Africans rather introduced it to them, and then when they wrote a story that will fit them, and they put a picture and they brought it to us. And they did that by saying our way of worship was the wrong one. But listen to this. Look at the letter of King Leopold exposing himself here. I told you, I have video for you. Right? Listen to this. I'm not talking about documentary. I am talking about actual life today that is happening right now in Africa. That they still practice what Jesus did. And you will see the presence of Jesus. What he did there today is still happening in Africa today. Let's read this letter. Letter from Leopold II of Belgium to the colonial missionary, 1883. He said, Reverend, Father, and dear compatriot. Now, some of you so-called Negro, when you call in a pastor, oh, Reverend Father, Reverend this go to you people. Reverend Father and dear compatriot. The tax that is given to fulfill is very delicate and requires so much tactics. You see it? It requires so much tactics And some of those tactics was to change the name of the creator. Was to change the name of the creator. Because you cannot go to Dhaka, Africa to talk about the creator and then the creator name be an African name and then you say the creator came from a white man. And then you go and carry African name. But the African will see it and say, well, this is African name. So you have to carry a name that is of European name. So that the African will not see it and know that, but this is our God. So they change his name to European name. So the African will be confused and believe them. And say, well, yeah, the God we worship, that's not his name. The God they brought to us, his name is different name. So it's true. So that was one aspect. They changed that name to Jesus. Meanwhile, the time Jesus was born, J did not exist. If J did not exist, that means Jesus' name was not Jesus. The creator name was not Jesus. And his father's name was not Joseph. And Joe, the prophet, right? His name was not Joe because J never existed. So his name too was not Joseph. Or Joe or Joel. All those people that their names start from J did not exist. So none of them name was Joe, Joel, Jesus, Joseph. None. And King Leopold told us in this letter. I'm not making a story, folks. Leopold told us in this letter. And that is why Africans owe no explanation to any European nation. Because they are liars. They are devil. They are deceiver. They deceive us. And now we are waking up. Listen to what Leopold said here. The task that is given to fulfill is very delicate and requires so much tactics. You will go certainly to evangelize. Now, whenever you go to evangelize, what are you trying to do? When you go to evangelize, what you're trying to do is you try to convince someone to believe you. What you're telling them. That's what you got to do. That's what evangelization is about. You convincing someone to believe you. You convincing someone to live their belief. You convincing someone that what you're telling them is the truth. You convincing someone that what you believe in is wrong. That's what evangelism is about. You convincing someone that your way of life is the better one. They did it to us, right? Then the same people come to us about democracy. What have democracy done? Even they do not believe in democracy. Right? But let's continue here. I just breaking it down for you. So he said, you will go certainly to evangelize, but conjunction. But this is where I'm coming from. But your evangelization must inspire above all Belgian interest. So anytime we see European, anytime we see European on the African continent talking about benefit, talking about mutual, talking about this, they are saying that anything they bring to us, it is their interest and not African interest. Since the days of our forefather to our time, it is the way of the European, it is the way of the West. Anything they bring to us is always being preached in their interest. That is why anytime you say no to them, they go against you because you are challenging their interest. And that is why we can never coexist when it comes to independence, when it comes to freedom. We will never coexist. We can only coexist if we agree to what they tell us to believe. So you see what Leopold said here, right? When you get to the main part here, just listen to me and be with me. Now, he went as far as saying, your principle or our principal objective in our mission, you see this, our principal objective in our mission in the Congo in the Congo. And the reason why he said in the Congo, it is because that's the part of Africa he controlled. But this letter was given to all the colonizers, including the U.S. The U.S. was there. If you read a letter, the same letter here, the United States wrote their own when they were taking the rebellious slave to Liberia. Most of our people don't even know it. They have never seen it. The same letter was taken to Liberia when they were taking the rebellious slave to Liberia. Every nation in Africa that was colonized by the West, they all had this letter. Research is very good, but let's continue here. He said our principal objective in our mission in the Congo is never to teach the nigger, never to teach the nigger to know God. Now, nigger is also in the Bible. They refers to as black people in the Bible. So if nigger is in the Bible, and King Leopold is quoting nigger in this letter here to the missionary in this conference. What does tell you? It tells you when the Europeans were in Africa learning, they learned about nigger, which just refers to black. Nigger is not a bad word. It just also means black people. So you heard that. That's number one. Nigger is in the Bible, referring to black people. The Bible is black people's story, history. But we ain't get to the main part yet that I want you to learn. Let's continue here. I'm just giving you some instances in the Bible. So anytime you read in the Bible, do not picture the white man. Anytime you read in the Bible and you picture the white man in your head, then you are reading a slave. Then you still have that slave mentality. Because the Bible is African history. It's African story. Let's continue here. Do not teach the nigger to know God. Let me read this again. Your principal objective in our mission in the Congo is never to teach the nigger to know God. You know why he said this? It's not because we did not know God. And he said it clear here. Listen to this. It's never to teach the nigger to know God. This they already know. So, if African knew about God, how can someone come and tell us it was European that carried God to the African continent? It was European that went and civilized Africa and taught us about God. If Leopold in the 1884 Berlin Conference, before they divided Africa, right? Here is he saying, do not go there and teach them about God. Because they already know God. They know who God is. God is like them. They know. They taught all who God is. They taught all about God. So don't go there and teach them about God. This is Leopold's lecture. Let's continue here. As he said, they already know God. But then, if they know God, what should we tell them? Leopold answered and said, they speak and submit to a Mungu. That is, these are African names about God. Listen though, these are African names, right? He said, they speak and submit to a Mungu. One in Zimbi, one in Zukumba. And what else? I do not know. So that means they knew everything about Africa and African way of worship and spirituality. They knew that Jesus, that the God that we call Jesus today, came from Africa, born in Africa by African parents. Listen to this. So you see, that's why when they went to Africa, they changed the creator name to Jesus. Because if they carry Munzugu if they carry Nzimbi, if they carry Nzukambo, we will say, but these are African names because we know the meaning of this name. In Africa, if a child is born, no Africa is given a name without a meaning. Every African child being born on the African continent have a meaning. So that is why when they even name Jesus, the creator Jesus, then they try to give a meaning. But do you see European name get meaning? You don't see European name get meaning. What is the meaning of butch? What is the meaning of butch? What's the significant meaning of butch? Somebody tell me the meaning of bush. Somebody tell me the meaning of free man. So because they read the African manuscript, then they want to give name, European name to say Jesus. Then they said the name Jesus means Emmanuel. Because they try to give a meaning. Because when Jesus was born, he knew not Jesus. We're going to get to the name. But when he was born, he have a name. Every African child that is being born have a name, have a meaning. Always. There is no African child born without and then given that name and then without meaning of that name. You will have a meaning. So they could not have named the creator, okay, with an African name. Because we have a meaning of every African name. So if they get an African name that does not match the meaning of the creator, we will ask them and say, no, but the name of our God have a meaning. And then the name that any African name that they get that they do not know the meaning, we will tell them this is the name of that African name, and which means different things from the creator. So this was one of the areas they lied to our people. So they changed the name of the creator to Jesus. And then they came and brought it to us. So when they changed it to Jesus, then they put the white man picture. And the picture they put there, Caesar Borgia, a rapist. After they changed the creator name to Jesus, a white man that existed, then they put Caesar Borgia picture there. A Pope at that time, under Arizona or something, Pope the Sixth. His son, who was a rapist, who raped his mother, and then they took his picture, they put it there as our creator. The gods of the African, the God of the Africans, they took his characteristic, they gave it to an European white man who was a rapist, who raped his own mother, who had herpes. Because the father, he being a pope at that time, did not want to see his son go down the drain. So he had to get the picture of an African god to his son. And then they named it Jesus. We're going to get it. I know you may be asking where you get all these stories from, right? Well, listen to this. We have done a lot of research. It's not everything I will show you here. But just get what I'm taking and be wise and go do your own history too. And try to compare it, put process together. All right? Be the wise man here. So that's why they couldn't bring African name, because they know we will know the meaning of any African name they take. So you saw what Leopold said here. These people worship God already. Mungu, zombie, zombie, zomba. Then he said, what else do I know? And he said, they know that. And then this is what he said. They know that to kill is not good. They know that to sleep with someone else's wife. They know all of those things already. Are these things not in the Bible that should not kill? Then how will you come and tell me it was a white man that brought the 10 Commandments whatsoever? These are all African manuscripts that they took and put together. That should not kill. That should not follow your neighbor's wife. That should not do this. These are things Leopold is quoting that these people already know. Don't go and tell them that should not kill, that should not follow your neighbor wife. They know it. They will tell you, but this is our story. And then look at what he said. Your essential role, your important role is to facilitate the tasks of administrator and industrial. That means go and become leader there. Go and create your ideology there and rule over them and control them. Because all we wanted to do is to have disbelief of their system, because we already changed the name of their God to a different thing. And then we change the image of their God to our image. And then we will tell them, the Bible says, as long you believe, it will happen. You see that? This is Leopold. He said, they know that to kill is bad. To sleep, no one sleep with their neighbor wife. They already know. Your essential role is to facilitate the task of administration industrial, which means you will go to interpret. You see? You will go to interpret the gospel in the way it will be the best to protect your interest in that part of the world. So anytime Europe, anytime America, anytime they go on the African continent, their aim is to interpret whatsoever that they can do, that their interest in that part of Africa or in that part of African nation will benefit them, not the people that live in that area. You see that? And then he said, for these things, you have to keep watch to disinstruct. You have to keep watch on disinstructing our savage from the riches that is planted. Is planted in the underground. So you see that. I will stop right here, right? Because we have, I can't read the whole thing, but we have other things to present. But you are saying that, okay? We talk about Jesus. That's not his name. Because data say the time he was born, J did not exist. So that means Joseph was born before Jesus. So if Jesus was born later on at that time, J did not exist. So that means his father's name was not even Joseph either. That means all the people in that Bible that are named Joel, this, that, who came after Jesus, their name was not Joel. Their name was not Joseph. Their name was not James. Their name was not Joe. So you see that, right? All right. Let's see a video here to connect the dot. Let me take this out. Let's see a video here to connect the dot so that you can see what we're talking about here. Let's connect the dot. Let's go back to the African continent and see this video. There is something they say in this video. I don't want to mention it. I want you to hear it from their mouth. And that's the actual name in the Bible, referring to Jesus, because they changed his name to Jesus. See what is happening. This is not documentary. This is reality things. It's not documentary. In fact, this is 2025.
Is Nogopo and why is this town? I just want to know, what is Nogopo and why is this town most feared town in the entire country? Okay. Tobo, can I shake your hand? Yes. Thank you so much. Tobo is actually a fan. He saw me and he said, "What am I?" I've made it in life, bro. Yeah. So I guess I'm in the safe place, man.
Nogopo in our language, Ewe language, means will it be here quietly? Quietly, with understanding that you will not be a thief.
Okay, before we continue, right? There are places in Africa, all right, especially West Africa, okay, where you have the Israelites, the 12 tribe, okay, or some of the 12 tribe that was scattered. If you go part of Ghana, and this is one of the area that they well, right? If you go Nigeria, you will see today the dead, okay? You will see them there. You go Benin, you go you even check there is a map. You will see them in this part in all over there on those places, okay? And this is one of the time today in Ghana that these people still reside. Today in Ghana that these people still reside. So if you check the Asian map, you will see all area in Africa that where the tribe of Judah and those things, they all reside. Okay? You will see it there. Let's continue here.
You will not be a backbiter. You will not do anything sinful
Wow.
against the neighbors or anyone around here. So it is believed that our great grandfathers, when they were migrating from Egypt, they were worshiping this Nogopo god that we call Yahweh or Zakaja.
So you see, that's the real name of Jesus. That's the real name of the Son of Man that was changed by the white man Jesus, to say Jesus. His name is Yahweh. And that is the name actually in the Bible. Yahweh. That is the actual name of the Son of Man in the Bible. Yahweh, which is written in the Bible. Most of you who are Christian, you will see it there. Yahweh. So, the same way in the Bible, right? Currently, you will see they say, oh, his name is Jesus, his name is Emmanuel. That's the same way that you see down there. This man is interpreted to you. Or Yahweh, or Kozopo, or all kind of name that he's calling down there. So when the European went and learned these things, they came and said, but then, since that's the case, because when God was, they said that when God was creating the world, right? He said, "They will make man in their own image." So if he made man in his own image, but these people are black, we are white, we are not as them. So we have to create a God to make it look like our image too. And then we can't get African name. We have to get European name too. Because their God have their African name. Did you see that? Their God have their African name with their African meaning. So we have to create our own God too and make it in our name. But the only thing they did, they went and took our story, the same African story, and then changed some things, and then put a name in a picture and then brought it to us. For example, the most beautiful woman, black woman who ever lived, right, on the face of the planet, Queen Nefertiti. What happened? NBC, they see white people went and made Queen Nefertiti and said Queen Nefertiti was a white woman. And then came on NBC and then do the 3D printer and then came, they said she was a white woman, made her white. But history says Queen Nefertiti was a black woman. Look at her nose. And then they want to change it. That's how they change your creator. You see that? That's how they change the name of your creator. But you see, today, you still find the traces of the 12 tribes, some of the 12 tribes in Africa there. Go look at the Asian map. You will see the 12 tribes scattered all around. You will see in Ghana, this is one of them. You go to Benin, you go to the whole West Africa there. You will see their settlement. You will see their settlement there. You will see their settlement. So you see that. And then you allow these Europeans come on the African continent. Want to talk about that? These people, we gave them civilization. They gave us nothing. They gave us hell. What they gave us was hell. And it is hell we're still going through because we turn our back from our own practices, our own belief, our own way of life. We turn our back and follow the pagan. What they believe, they give it to us, we take it. Now the man they put on the face of Jesus, he was a rapist. He raped his own man. He had herpes. He was a rapist. That picture you see hanging all around, y'all take your point in your horses, in your churches. That man a social boy, that real man that live. He was a rapist. A thief, that rare as well. So put his picture all over in your horses. So you see that? You see the name Yahweh in the Bible. That was Jesus' real name, Yahweh, not Jesus. You see that? But there's more to the video. Watch. The white men gave you civilization. They gave you hell.
In our it is believed that our great-great-great-grandfathers, when they were migrating from Egypt, they were worshipping this Nogopo god that we call Yahweh or Zakaja. In our language, we call it Zakaja, but in the English language, we call it Yahweh. So this is the kind of thing God they were worshipping from Egypt, and it was brought here and settled here.
So why you're walking barefoot?
Yeah, this is the custom of the town. That this particular area, you don't use footwear.
In the bare chesting?
Yeah, sure. Once you cannot enter the shrine with cloth, putting cloth on, putting set on, and footwear. So if you're about to enter the town, you take off your cloth, your set, and then the footwear.
Are you scared being here?
I'm scared being here, bro. You know, when they tell you the story, sometimes a lot of people think it's a story.
Yeah.
But then you walk in there and you see like able men and women, bare-chested, walking up and down with serious faces. That will tell you that it is not a joke over here.
So, do you know that Nogopo is the most feared town in Ghana?
Yeah, sure.
Why is it that everyone is scared of this place?
It is simply because if you are looking for the truth.
So you heard that. Everyone is afraid of the town because the town, if you are looking for the truth, you go there. You see, this is not to say we're trying to mock Christianity, right? But listen to this. In the churches, you don't find the truth in the church. You don't find the truth. You find lies, deceit. You find it in the church. Look at the Bible. They take it, they bring it to you. They say your president should pray while they're taking the oath of office. And then your president put his hand or her hand on a Bible. Oh, I pray. So pressing, I'm this, and then so help me God. And you put on a Bible. But when that same president get in power, do they do according to the will of the people, or they go against according to the will of the people? I don't believe in bringing those Bible, putting your hand in it. No, let's do it the African way. So that's why they're afraid of the time, because the time is about truth. The time is about truth. And that's how these Europeans came. They learned about Africa. So you see, in this time, there is no rich, there is no poor, there is no middle. Everyone equal. Everyone live the same. They feed one another. Everything for everybody. That's not what the Bible says. The Bible is your story, is your African story. No corruption here. But you know, then when they change the story around so that you can't use your belief to go against them. You see what is going on here? You see what is going on here? Let us go back to our way of life. Go back to your way. Stand. Look, for any time you practice someone's way of life, you become a photocopy of that person. And that person, that person will be the guy. That person will be the guy. Because anything you do it according to that person. Anything you believe according to what that person says. And you look up to that person. Because what you do, what you believe, it is not of you, it is of someone. It is not of your culture, it is of someone's culture. So you have to be obedient by those people, culture. You have to be a follower. That means what somebody said, that's how you have to go back. And that puts you in a position of being a lesser human being. That is why they say we are lesser. We are 3/5 of a lesser human being. Because a poor in a position because we look up to them. If you look up to something or to someone for your salvation, you become a lesser person. That is why if the white man is the one in heaven, you will never go to heaven. Let's continue here.
If you are looking for the truth, this is the only place you can find it.
Wow.
In Ghana. Yeah.
So people are scared of the truth.
Yes. Because the town is built on truth.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't be here and indulge in crime, social vices, and those things. No, we don't entertain that.
What happens to somebody who lives in Nogopo and indulge in ungodly stuff?
The gods will punish you. Yeah, the gods of the land will punish you.
That's the case they have today.
The case is that somebody has taken, I think, a lot of cement, bags of cement.
1,300 bags of cement.
Bags of cement.
The person stole it, and then he lied that, I mean, the cement got lost. And guess what? They brought him to Nogopo, and the truth hasn't been revealed that he stole it. You don't think it's about time for us to bring all our presidency, our parliamentarians to come and sow in here?
What you said. Exactly. You see, now people are giving up on the country, right? So in order for truth to be restored, for hope to be restored to people, now this is the last administration people have hope in. That's the Mohammed's administration. Because they think the MPP administration has failed them. So now they're betting everything on the Mohammed administration. So if everything goes down again, then the last option for us now is Nogopo.
It's a thunder god. So assuming you have offended someone and you are being brought here and you don't want to comply with the conditions and the rules, they will send a thunder god to you and to strike you. And when you are being striked, you will be carried, the dead body will be carried to the forest over here and dry on a shelf forever and ever.
So I guess if you live...
All right, we take that out, right? So look what it said. If you steal, you do this, they take you there, and then they will speak to the tunnel god, and tunnel will strike you, right? Isn't it the same thing when you're praying? Oh, the God of Moses, the God of Jacob, the God of Isaac, the God of Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. You see these things? It's the same thing. These people just change your story around. That's what they did. They put a picture. Because they say, how can we serve God that is not of our image? And they said God made man in his own image. And they read the Bible. They read our story. These people read our story. They saw our story. You see it? And you saw from the beginning what did God say. And that is to tell you again, some of you again, this thing gave you an eye to go do more research. What he said. It is said that when our people were leaving Egypt. So that is to tell you who they were in Egypt. You remember the story of the Bible? When God told Moses to lead the 12 tribes from Egypt and things. You remember the story? When they were leaving Egypt. So ask yourself, where did they go when they were leaving Egypt? Ask yourself this question. Where did they go when they were leaving Egypt? Did they die? Did they stay in Egypt? Because they were leaving, they left. Where did they go? They went Europe? Where did they go? They left. They went to the same Africa. They went in the same West. You heard what he said. Our people left Egypt. So they left. They settled different places. And then he said when they left, this was a belief they brought, and they said, the God name was Yahweh. So you see that. So you see you see history. The God name was Yahweh. And they came, they settled there. And they were practicing it, they still practicing it. And you will read the same Bible, they said the Son of Man name was Yahweh. You see it in there. That European name Yahweh, that's not European name Yahweh. European changed their name from Yahweh to Jesus, but Yahweh stay in the Bible there. You see it there. These are the things that make you go do research more. So that means the people that was in Egypt, they were not white people. When God told Moses, let my people go, they were not white people, they were black people who left Egypt and they came down west. And they settled to different places down west. That's your story. It is not white man's story. That's your story. That is what, look, that is what the white men, they can never understand the Bible more than the black men. Never. The white men even will have to go to theological school. Black men don't go to theological school. They know the Bible. I didn't go there. We didn't go there. Because it is our story. No one knows your story more than you. No one knows your story more than you. It is just part of you. It is in you. It is natural. Let's continue here. Know that from today. That's not white man God. That's black man God. That is why in everywhere of the Bible, when you read, it will always talk about his people, his people, his people, his people, because it is just another, it is another African deity. It is just another African deity. That is why you will never read anywhere, you see, it talk about, it always say his people, to die for his people, to free his people. He came for his people. He's coming for his people. He gave the law, statute, and commandment to his people. His, possess it, possess it, possess it, possess it, possess it. You understand that? Let's continue. Now, let's get back. I brought this out because of certain things. Anyway, we're about to go, but I'm going to bring one more video and then so we can go because we've been here for a long time, right? But let me just bring two. Let me summarize it quick. Let me see here. Let me share two videos and then we'll be out. Okay. And these are the reasons, right? These are the reasons why Europeans continue to look down on us, because they feel that, right, we still feed on the BS they gave us. Because they see or they know that we are the original. They know that we are the true people. They know what we have. They know our intelligence. But yet they still, right, we buy into what they bring to us. And that is why they continue to insult and tell us what they want to tell us. Look at what Macron say here.
Our next story is about Emmanuel Macron. The French president faces trouble from all sides. The war in Ukraine has hammered Europe. Macron's dreams of leading the continent lie in tatters. His grip on domestic power has weakened because of the poorly thought out election that he conducted last year. And farmers are protesting all over France. Everywhere you look, there's chaos. You would think it couldn't get any worse. But somehow, Macron has managed to create even more trouble for himself. The French president did it again yesterday, another classic foot-in-the-mouth moment where he casually insulted a bunch of African nations. Take a look.
One part was our commitment to fighting terrorism since 2013. We were right. I think some have forgotten to say thank you, but that's okay. It'll come in time. I'm in a good position to know that ingratitude is a disease that cannot be transmitted to humans.
So you see the kind of insult Macron gave to Africans because of some of the Africans who continue to be ignorant, who continue to buy into this. Macron said, we are ignorant, and the kind of ignorant is a disease that can now be healed. And he don't want to buy into those disease. And it is a kind of disease that cannot even be transferred to human. So that means the disease that we have, right? The idea that we have, they will never understand. They will never agree to it. Because it is not a physical disease to say you get no. The ideology of Africa being free, Macron is trying to tell us they will never buy into it. They will never agree to us for Africa to be free. They will never leave us alone. They will never understand. It is not of their DNA to work with Africa, for Africa to liberate, to be liberated, to be free, to own what they want to own what belongs to them. Macron is saying those kind of a disease, it is a disease that will never be transferred onto them. You see the insult he gave to us because of people like Tinubu and people like Nana Akufo-Addo and the corrupt ECWA and AU. You see?
But I say this for all the African governments who have not had the courage, in the eyes of their public opinion, to bear it. None of them would be in a sovereign.
So they call our freedom, they call our needs that we discussing, or it is just an opinion, it is not a public opinion. Because it is not from them. If it is from them, then it is not opinion. But if it is from us, I mean, our struggle, you call it opinion? Things that we go through, you call it opinion? Our demise, you call it opinion? Again, we don't blame you. We blame the puppet, Negro, slave, African leaders.
This for all the African governments who have not had the courage, in the eyes of their public opinion, to bear it. None of them would be in a sovereign country today if the French army had not been deployed in this region.
So you see the nonsense coming from Emmanuel Macron's mouth. It is because of France that Africa have independence. It is because of France that Africa have freedom. If we are talking about freedom and independence, who African fought against to gain independence? The independent we call today independent. Who Africa fought against? Was Emmanuel Macron. Emmanuel Macron, African fought against your parents. And Africans are still fighting against you. And then he said it was not because of France. Africa would not have gotten its freedom, the freedom it gets today. What is freedom to you? So freedom to you is taking $500 billion from African nations every year to build your France. So freedom to you is taking $500 billion from African every year and creating proxy war with the same $500 billion, paying people to come and create war with the same $500 billion, paying a tourist. That's freedom. What is freedom to you? So freedom to you is looting African uranium and creating electricity in France for your citizens, while the people in Niger and in Africa are in abject poverty, don't have electricity. That is freedom to you. So freedom to you is to loot the people's resources, right? While half or all of the citizens live in abject poverty and no food. That is freedom to you. Deprive them from growing food. That is freedom to you. While they drink dirty water, dirty, stinking water. That is freedom to you. They have to travel to France to see their resources, to have taste of their resources. That is freedom to you. to have puppet government in power that will seek your interest, protect your interest against the interest of the people. That is freedom to you. You are devil. You are the devil the Bible speak of. And you are the devil the Bible describe. Because the Bible is our history. You are the Bible that our forefathers spoke about in our story that you call Bible today. You are the devil that is spoke about. You are the enemies that is spoke about. It said, be aware of your enemies. Their voices are smooth like butter. Isaiah 58 verse 1. Their voices are smooth like butter, but war is in your heart. Their voice are soft like ore, thin ore, but sword is in their hands. That's you the Bible spoke about. That's you our forefathers spoke about that you call Bible today. It is our story. It is our book. And it reminds us to be careful of you, to be mindful of you. You are the devil the Bible speak of, Emmanuel Macron.
That was Macron giving a grand foreign policy speech, addressing a gathering of French ambassadors and chalking out the way ahead this year. Somehow, Macron thought that this was the right time to pick a new fight with people who already don't seem to like him very much, the people of Africa. You know that France has been on the back foot in Africa over the past few years. It had military bases all over the continent, mostly in its former colonies in West and Central Africa. French troops have been squatting there for decades, ostensibly to provide security cover. But on their watch, West Africa became a terror hotspot. Boko Haram, the Islamic State West Africa province, the Islamic State Sahel province, Al-Qaeda and its offshoots like the JNIM, all these terror groups have been running rampant in the Sahel region. In former French colonies like Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger, right under the noses of the French troops stationed there. This instability led to multiple military coups in West Africa, in Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger. And the military juntas promptly decided to switch partners. They kicked France out and chose to work with Russia instead. They believed that the Russians would be more effective against the terrorists. The decision had a knock-on effect. Anti-France sentiment started spreading to other countries hosting French troops like Chad, Senegal, and most recently, the Ivory Coast. This is a massive failure for France, a moment of shame. But Macron does not see it that way. He says Paris is not on the back foot. Instead, he blames the African nations. Macron called them, and I'm quoting, ungrateful. And then he said, and let me quote again, none of them would be in a sovereign country today if the French army had not been deployed in this region. This is the French president, the leader of a former colonial power, talking about countries that won their independence from France. Macron says the French army is responsible for their sovereignty. How tone deaf can you be? If anything, the African countries would have been sovereign sooner if not for the French army. Macron's mental gymnastics are truly world-class, but obviously the African nations were not impressed. Chad and Senegal have called him out. Chad's foreign minister issued a statement. He said Macron holds, and I'm quoting again, a contemptuous attitude towards Africa and Africans. He added that the French presence in Chad has often been limited to its own strategic interests without any real lasting impact for the development of the Chadian people. And then he reminded Macron about how Africans had helped France, especially during the two world wars. That was Chad's rebuke. Senegal's was even sharper. Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko put up this post on social media. He counters Macron's claims, saying that France helped destabilize countries like Libya, which contributed to the Sahel security crisis. And then Sonko issued a parting shot. Let me quote again. This is what he said. This is finally the place to remind President Macron that if African soldiers, sometimes forcibly mobilized, mistreated, and ultimately betrayed, had not deployed during the Second World War to defend France, it would perhaps still be Germany today. During the Second World War, Germany had occupied parts of France. We know that the US, Britain, and the Soviet Union helped liberate the country, but we often forget the role of African soldiers, conscripts from French colonies who fought to free France from the Nazis. It seems Macron had forgotten this too, but Sonko was happy to remind him. All this shows just how untethered Macron is from reality. Instead of acknowledging his failures, instead of respecting the wishes of the African people, he has chosen to insult them. It's another mess of his own making, one that will probably accelerate France's departure from Africa.
From breaking
All right, let's watch the last video about Abraham Traoré and his speech, because all is about Traoré today. All is about Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and other African nations who are taking the same path. We're not talking about the colonial African nations. We will come to them. But until they can take that path, they are nothing. They are just like a spittle. What the Bible describes again. The Bible is our story, folks.
And this man, Abraham Traoré, is the thriving heartbeat behind it all. That is what makes this the greatest speech for 2025 throughout the world. These words are powerful. He not only talks about Africans as a whole, but he identifies Africa as a nation and what they are and who they are. If you know the story of this man and what he and his army and the citizens of Burkina Faso have gone through, you understand the significance of this moment right now. And even if you don't know the whole story, it's still the greatest speech ever given, because everything he says is honest, truth, genuine. And this type of speech is what shakes the corrupt leaders to their core. But it gives honest leaders hope and heart to continue the fight for the freedom in their land. I could watch and listen to this speech over and over and over again, and I probably will when I need to be encouraged and motivated to move forward in life and something I believe in.
Could a Cybertruck like the one that you see right behind me pay you $30,000?
But right now, I would like to watch it with you. So if you would please like, subscribe, click that notification button so when we get information out, you can get information in. And if you'd also like to, grab a drink and we'll watch this together. One love.
Your Excellency, your presence here at the invitation of His Excellency Mr. John Dramani Mahama reaffirms the historical fraternity between our two peoples and reinforces the confidence, the image, the pride of our Burkinabe community in Ghana. We know that you carry a message of hope. This diaspora, wherever it may be, is tomorrow committed to the development of our nation. Allow me to conclude my speech by wishing that your stay here in Ghana is crowned with success and blessings. May God, the Almighty and the Merciful, be in control of everything.
Together, with faith and determination, we will overcome all obstacles. In life or in death, we will win. It is an immense pleasure and an honor to be here among you. And it is for this that I thank God for allowing this meeting to take place. God, thank you. At 10:56 we were able to arrive well this morning, and we are very proud to be among you and to exchange with you. It is really an honor. First of all, I would like us to observe a minute of silence, in memory of all our martyrs, who have died. Thank you. I would like to wish you a happy new year 2025. May God bless you and grant you a healthy life. May God make all your businesses successful, prosperous, and may there be union and love in your respective families and among you. May God protect you throughout this year, 2025, and help you realize your dreams. I would also like to pay tribute to our valiant fighting forces, who fight with their body and soul, as you can see, so that our Burkina Faso remains standing. Noble work, men of integrity. Each time they throw themselves into the mud, they know well that some will stay there, but duty calls them. This is the job of the army. We often feel nostalgic, but those who have the chance to defend Burkina Faso today, we must encourage them and applaud them. When they leave, we will not cry for them and we will have pity on our fate. If we cry for them, we must avenge them. Pay tribute to them as much as you can, because it does not allow anyone to get up and leave their homes to face the dangers, knowing well that they may not return in the evening. But this is what they do every day, and they have sworn to defend our dear country until the supreme sacrificed, and the fighting forces hold their bet. Today, more than ever, our armed forces go wherever they want. At the moment I speak to you, there are several operations through several groups, and we are inflicting colossal losses on the enemy and pushing him back little by little out of Burkina Faso. This battle, this war, we are going to win it, and we are going to overcome imperialism, which activated this terrorism in our region. To hope to bring us back in these colonial times, to maintain us under their yoke, to exploit us until the end of time. Africa is waking up, and no one can still close the eyes of Africans on our realities. No one can still come to divide us, to impose on us what they want. That's why we have done everything to be here today to speak to you, but also to come and wish good luck to President John Mahama. We wish him good luck because the challenges are numerous. Many challenges await him, and I wish that you can accompany your brothers here. Pan-Africanism is a rather complex, but you, people, it is quite easy for you to lead this Pan-Africanism, well, because the people must love each other, the people must support each other. The problem very often of Pan-Africanism is among us, leaders, but we are going to put everything in place so that the leaders can go in the direction of their people, because the peoples are already integrated, they are Pan-African. If today, Ghana decided to bring President John Mahama to the head of the country, it is a strong message, and I wish that you, Bakinabe, living in Ghana, you can accompany President John Mahama. The task will be difficult. There are certainly challenges to come on the security level, on the economic level. I wish that you can accompany the forces of defense and security in Ghana as much as you can, both on the intelligence level and on the economic level as you can. Support them as if you were supporting the Burkina Faso armed forces. I'm telling you something, the challenges can be very numerous. In no case should you lose hope. You must accompany them and help them on all levels. A nation does not survive as long as it does not have a strong army. This is why I reiterate to you to support the forces of defense and security in Ghana. It is they who can help the country to rise to the economic level and to flourish. Then, I urge you to love the people here, to live in perfect symbiosis, in perfect harmony, as you are already doing very well. As I said, the peoples are already integrated. The problem is at the level of the leaders. Continue in this sense. Support your brothers in Ghana. Support them as much as you can. And above all, show this integrity. A country of integrated people must be a model. Burkina Faso must not create a problem. Burkina Faso must be a solution. You have always known how to behave through all your leaders here. Wish this dynamic to continue and that you can accompany the new president in his enormous task to revive the country's economy and above all to defend this country. We will work together to strengthen cooperation between Burkina Faso and Ghana and also between the AES and Ghana, because we have many challenges together and we have always been able to overcome them. The arrival of the new president must be a moment for us to warm up these relations and to bring them to the highest level. In the coming days, we will be able to see what can be done for the benefit of Burkina Faso, of the interior, as well as of you who are here. The grievances immediately raised by the representative are current grievances, and I think that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has to be able to reorganize the diaspora so that we can solve these problems as easily as possible. This is why the councils have been established and the administrative documents and other documents you need to express your nationality are being modernized. If you follow the news, we certainly had documents, but it is not secure enough. Today, we are in a dynamic to secure all the identity documents in the country, but also in the space of AES and to harmonize them. This is why it takes a little time, but in January, normally, a meeting must take place with experts to perfect this issue of identity documents. And we hope that by then, you will be fully entitled to have your nationality, as it should be for Burkina Faso. We are committed to making this possible. Burkina Faso is committed to a path that you know, a difficult path perhaps, full of obstacles, but be sure, you should never lose hope. You should never be afraid. You should never doubt for a moment. From where you are, we hear your support. We feel it, and all those on the ground and the population in the country feel the support of the diaspora. And we expect to be able to continue to motivate your brothers inside, and that we can together regain the coat of arms of Burkina Faso. We have a dream, and this dream will be a reality in a very near future. Terrorism will end. We will develop our country. We will develop our industries and make it easier for you, investors, to come and invest in the country in secure conditions and in economic facilities that you want. We did not forget this during the last Diaspora Forum. We are seeing everything that can be brought together to allow you to come and invest easily in the profits of your brothers because we are an importer country and we know how to say it. Today the dynamic is to be able to transform our society. You have the chance to be in Ghana. Ghana is an ingenious country, and I think that a lot of technology can be transferred from here to the country. So we are waiting for you. As for us over there, we are developing to bring young people back to production. Production, especially agriculture and transformation. Because we cannot conceive that in this 21st century we will continue to import almost all our food from abroad. While we have a huge potential, we have the land. This year, we did the experiment on the portion that was secured. We are satisfied with the results, which means that next year, if God pleases, we will continue to provide our support to the peasant world, but especially to young agricultural entrepreneurs who want to get into production and encourage these industries of transformation. Burkina Faso will shine. Burkina Faso will be great. Our dream will come true if God pleases. And I encourage you to stay united, united between you and united with those who have welcomed you here. Be united with your African brothers. We are reactivating the Black People's Institute because Africa has the same history. We are treated in the same way by the imperialists. There is no reason why we are not united and that we block imperialism. Stay united, and show your Burkina Faso wherever you are. Thank you very much. We pray to God that everyone can return in peace, as well as we thank you for where we came from. And above all, thank you to all the leaders present here for the mobilization, for the effort of union that you make between Burkina Faso and here. We are very grateful to you, and thank you for the effort that is made so that the young people that we are stay attached to our culture. It is the only thing that if we lose our identity. This is why we have set up a day especially dedicated to our roots. Continue from where you are to teach the youth to always be attached to their culture and never lose sight of it. Thank you to everyone. May God accompany you in all your works. May God protect you throughout the year. And may God bring you back everyone, safe and sound, from where you came from. La patrie ou la mort. Thank you very much.
All right, that's it. I'm not even going to say much about this video because he spoke well. He is the greatest African president we have on the continent and in the world. And that is a fact. And we will do everything to protect him. And let me say this to the Western media and to Europe and America. You might have said all things about Nkrumah and you got away with it. You might have said all nasty things about Dr. King and you got away with it. You might have said all nasty things about Malcolm X and you got away with it. You might have said all nasty things about Nelson Mandela, you got away with it. You might have said all nasty things about Robert Mugabe, you got away with it. You might have said all nasty things about Thomas Sankara, Patrick Lumumba, Amilcar Cabral, you got away with it. You might have said all nasty things about Gaddafi and you kill him, you got away with it. But with this current time, from Abraham Traoré and onward, you will never say anything negative about Africans who seek African interest and you get away with it. It will not happen. We were silent. We will not be silent again. And to those puppet African leaders, you may be silent against Africans who has African interests. You might have been silent and you got away with it. You got away with the US killing Gaddafi. But this time, you will not get away with you being silent against Africans who are doing the right thing. You will not be puppet against Africans who are doing the right thing and you think we'll be silent. We will not. We will bring you to book and we will call you out and we will disgrace you we'll have no regard for you. We will disrespect you because that's what you want. As long as you respect the West over African interests, that's how we will disrespect you. As long as you respect the West over African interests, we will disrespect you and we will bring it to public ridicule. We care less to do with anybody's feelings. It is not about what people feel now. It is about what we feel and what we want. If you can't feel what Africans feel, we get less to do with you. If you can't discuss what African discuss and what African want, we care less to do with you. We will never put you in our circle. In fact, what we have will never be for you, and we will not share with you. It is the truth. So if the U.S. like the whole sit down, if the U.S. cannot talk about African interests, if the U.S. cannot go with African interests, we care less to do with U.S. and to share with U.S. what we have. We will share with people who have African interests, who want to see African to where African want to be. U.S. can get any interpretation. We care less. We will not listen to it. And at the end, that the U.S. will be failing herself. We don't care. And we say this for her to see it and for her to hear it. If the U.S. will fall, it will be the cause of herself. It will be the cause of her leader. Because the truth is, do you really want to think this generation, African, we will settle again? And you continue to kill our leaders? You continue to loot us? And you all sit down silent? When a whole continent that have the resources, 8 people are suffering, dying, and then when you read it, you call us name. Look at what Macron said. Look at how Macron described us. And you think we will sit down and listen to Macron? You think we will sit down and then Macron do what she want to do? You think so? You think we will sit down and Macron do what Macron want to do? And you US, you support Macron. For what? And you think we will sit down and listen to you? What have Abraham Traore done? Look at what Abraham Traore said in that speech. You US, is that lie? Is that lie? Biden, Joe Biden, is that lie what this man said? Is that lie? What he said in that video that will make anyone to go against him. Or you want African leaders who will come and talk about, we live in a global world. We need to work together as global citizens. Or that's the only way we can survive. Or we all depend on one another and think. When we know the U.S. don't believe in globalism. Because your foreign policy go against globalism. Your foreign policy go against globalism. It goes against humanity. It goes against human rights. We see what is going on in the world. So you don't have the audacity to come and talk about human rights. That is why we don't believe in anything that comes from the West again. It is because of you, your attitude and your behavior. That's why we don't believe anything that comes from the West. Anything that comes from the West is all garbage. It's all rubbish. And that is why you need to understand at this time. Time change. Things change. People change. People learn. People wake up. Oh, you think the spare of ignorance will be on us forever? You think the spare of obedience will be on us forever? You think the spare of slavery will be on us forever? Oh, I see. If you think that way, what I will say to you is that spare is coming on you now. If you think you're thinking that way, that spare is coming on you. Jimmy Papa. Peace and love. This is Tuesday presentation. I decided before I leave, I have to do the presentation today. So I will see you on next month. But the show gonna be going on in Kimba and Natasha are gonna be on some days, and other people still gonna be here presenting. But I will see you on next month because I'm traveling to the motherland, to the continent. So next month I'll be back and we will get the ball rolling. Peace. I'll miss you guys.
The white power structure, because that's all we have in America. And the white power structure today is just as much interested in perpetuating slavery as the white power structure was